What is up, entrepreneurs, creators, friends, family? It's been a minute. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gladney, and I help you simplify the video creation process to help you reach wider and connect deeper with the people that need you the most. Because I believe of all the mediums and all the other types of content and stuff that you could be creating, I believe video is the best way to do that. If you're into that kind of stuff, you're going to love what we're talking about today, because it's going to be all about helping you free up your time. Because I think that's one of the biggest assets of building a team, hiring somebody to do the editing for you. We're going to cover just specifically hiring a video editor, but there are certain elements that would work for you if you're even hiring a virtual assistant, which I think for a lot of creators is a bigger need in some aspects than a video editor, but we talk about that later. The way this show is going to roll, if you're watching this on the replay, which whether you're live or watching the replay, thanks for being here. We're going to go into a few pieces of slides that I have pulled up here just to make sure we can get the core content up first. So we're maintaining the integrity for the replay value. And then we'll get into Q&A, answer any questions that you have if you're ready to dive right in. I'm pumped. I'm excited. And it's good to be back on the channel. It's been a minute. So if you're new to all of this content creation stuff, the one thing that is universal is that you instantly become a video editor. Even if you're trying to repurpose your live streaming content, you still have to find a video editing tool or an editing program, something like DaVinci Resolve, which is free. It is a massively large program, but it's a free program that you can use as a professional video editor. Or you have those that are kind of in the beginner to intermediate phase, which is stuff like Wondershare Filmora, but they have like the Filmora Pro, which works out really well if you're kind of transitioning later on to stuff like Adobe or even Final Cut Pro, which is what I use and what we use on the team. We've had editors that use Adobe, and there's no right or wrong, but I think one of the main assets when you're getting ready to start hiring somebody is make sure that if you're not certain if this person is really going to work out, and I know a lot of us have control issues, make sure that they're at least using something where you're getting the assets as well. So if you need to pick up from where they left off at, you can, but I'm going to go into some ways that you won't have to worry about that. And you can kind of start to comfortably and confidently release control of somebody else doing the editing work and stuff for you, because otherwise it's just going to be a real hard road to climb up, unfortunately, if you're just struggling. So let's get into this. Jeff saying, I am my own video editor. That's how everybody starts off, Jeff. I think that's true, honestly, universally of everybody. And we're going to get that changed, hopefully by the end of this stream. But let's dive into a couple concerns that people usually have. And if you're listening, watching this live, let me know if the music is a little too loud or anything. It should be tuned optimally to work out pretty nicely for this stream. All right, so a lot of questions, concerns before you hire somebody, or if you're like, most of the time it's like you're feeling the pressure of, I know I need to get this off my plate. I know I can't keep doing this. It is just not possible. Like, it's impossible for you to spend time communicating with brands, handle all the stuff that comes in through the email, spending time researching, going through the thumbnails and all the stuff that comes before, during, and after you publish the video, because just because you're done editing it doesn't mean it's done. And so I get like you're bringing all this stuff to the table, but a couple concerns is, will I actually have the money to hire somebody? Like, maybe the channel isn't profitable, and we've definitely been there, especially like I think everybody kind of starts there unless you have a different approach, but most of us are kind of taking money from your job, money from your existing company. And a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with, they're very hesitant initially with starting on YouTube, because it's like, okay, I'm gonna spend all this money on gear. Breaking $1,000 is easy. Breaking $3,000 is easy, especially when you start playing in the subscriptions of you need certain assets and stuff. It's easy to break $1,000 or $3,000. So now you're looking at adding on, whether it's part-time, full-time, or potentially another model I'll talk about a little bit later, for somebody to do this work for you. Where is money coming from? Are they like, how are we making this work? I get it. I've been there. The other concern is hiring a video editor really worth it? I think this is the biggest frustration that needs to be addressed, which we're going to, because if you don't see the value in hiring somebody, all of this is just going to be a waste of your time. I have other videos that are in other live streams even. They're way more fun when we play the Wheel of Wonder and all of that. Way more fun and interesting to get into versus this. If you don't see the value in hiring somebody, don't even waste your time with going through and honestly getting somebody started working for you and working with you, only for them to get let go 3 weeks down the line, and then they have to start that process again. Don't waste their time. The other concern is, can I actually afford to pay somebody? We talked about that. And how do I start hiring somebody? Enough, we need to put it twice. How do I actually start hiring somebody? The process of the onboarding to get somebody started and going for your business and your brand is extremely easy with a system. And we'll go into some of that bit a little bit later. The other thing is that, like I said, if you don't see the value in hiring somebody, it's just going to be a complete and total waste of time. But I love this quote by Andrew Carnegie. He says, teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, put an asterisk next to that, and it is the fuel that allows common people to obtain uncommon results. Everybody, I think, if you are in any realm of entrepreneurship or branding or anything where I don't care if you have a cupcake stand, like there's some vision back of what you're doing, and you can't do it all by yourself. Like I literally was thinking like to make the thumbnail with me and a bunch of hats, like wearing a bunch of hats with a bunch of labels on them, because you become a graphic designer, a web designer, a blog writer, a designer again for thumbnails. You become a SEO strategist. You become a social media manager. You become a brand ambassador for various, like you start wearing a ton of different hats, a consultant. Like there is no such thing like being a YouTuber. That's why I hate the news a lot of it. Be honest, I hate the news a lot of it because they throw that YouTuber title out there just a little bit too easy. Because in my book, being a YouTuber is a ton of stuff. You are legit an entrepreneur whether you want to be or not. You putting in work. Because of this, you can't do it by yourself. If the vision is big enough and important enough, you can't do it by yourself. It's impossible. So I'm curious, for those of you that might want to share, what's your vision for, like, why are you building the channel? What's ultimately the thing that you want to do? What is the vision? Like, if you don't have the clear vision, you bring somebody on, they're going to get tired of working for you because they don't see this going anywhere. The things that people don't tell you. It's a lot when it comes to leadership of hiring and building a team and a brand. So let's go ahead and jump in to some comments real quick. I'm going to pause in between a little bit here, do this a little bit differently just to make sure I can grab you all's questions, because y'all know how we usually do on the channel. It's like 45 minutes later, then I just get to comments like 12 minutes into the stream. We're going to try to be a little bit better about that out here in these streets. What's up, David Kennedy III? Good to see you, my brother. Tech for your needs. Good to see you. Glad you're here. David Hunt in the building. Said music level is right. Cool, cool. Glad y'all enjoying it. What's up? What is that? Hardware money. That's what I'm talking about. Good to see you. Saying I'm at that point now. Figured out it's kind of self-limiting to do it all alone. What is this dread doing? It's always one of them. Got to be two of them. Participate with the rest of the design. Okay. My bad. But says self-limiting to do it all alone. It is, man. I love that. I'm gonna start that because I want to come back to that. Thanks. I know how to use the Sony dummy battery. You're very welcome. Good to see you, Big Pontiac. Good to see you. Saying editing is tough. Listen, I think bad editing takes the most time. If we're just being very honest, like if you look back at your earliest videos, depending on how much you've been editing, I can say you can look back at mine. Don't nobody do that. Just leave it back there. Okay. Leave history in the past on this channel. Okay. The worst videos that you've made though, take the longest amount of time. Take the longest amount of time. I'm gonna put a pause on that one because I did a little math and I want you to all see. Matter of fact, I'm gonna break my own little design because I just want to blow this up for a second. Like, what does it really cost you to hire or to not hire somebody? Like, I had to put it in real numbers. Most of these, like, from what I see around St. Louis and stuff, is I'll see like, what is like White Castle or something. They're saying that you can start for like $12 or $15 an hour, most fast food places that I see. I guess, it depends on where you're located. Mostly about, it's usually about anywhere from like $12 to $15. So I figure if you're working in any kind of corporate America job, it's somewhere between maybe $20 to $25, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? On the lower end. So, and that's not to say anything about anybody's job, but these companies don't pay people right. So taking that into consideration, I asked the question in the poll a couple hours ago, sometime like yesterday afternoon. I said, how long does it usually take you to edit a video? Most of y'all said somewhere between 3 to 4 hours. A few of y'all said between 4 to 5 hours. And some of y'all was saying like, I'm in the weeds. I'm curious to see how this develops as the week goes on and more people are exposed to this. But I wanted to put these numbers into perspective. If most people are doing what YouTube is suggesting, and that's one video per week, then that's at least 12 to 16 hours a week if you are in the majority of that 3 to 4 hours. And maybe that's not like even the kind of content that you ultimately want to create yet. It's just what you're doing right now. Because I think everybody has a goal of like where you see your content at right now. It's like good and getting better, but ultimately like you have a bigger vision of where you want that to be. And I think for some of you that are in the weeds, those 5 hour energy people, it's taking that long either because you're inexperienced with editing or because you're putting so much into the edit. It is taking that long. And I get that. We've done projects like when we did the master class, I didn't touch too much of the master class, but as far as like from an editing perspective, but when I say we spent hours going through, broke it down into those 3 core concepts around how to plan, how to record, and how to edit your video content. That masterclass is available on the channel. So I put a link in the description, or if there's any moderators in the chat, put a link to the masterclass. But we put countless hours into that project. And I'm thinking, we're usually pretty quick. It ain't gonna take us that long. It did. Now, if I was doing it myself, it would take me even longer. And that's being experienced, and that's being a good editor. It just takes, sometimes projects take a longer amount of time. But if we put this in perspective, if you're doing what YouTube recommends and it's taking you anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a month, that's at least $300 to $400 if you're making $25 an hour. If you're making more money, add up the numbers for yourself. Let me know what your numbers are if you someplace else. Some people say, well, it's $50, for maybe for your time or for your consultant. Maybe it's $100 if you're getting started in consulting or something. What is the cost? So if you're just paying, like looking at this from transitioning from what I'm taking from my job or something, and like I said, on average, if maybe you're making about $25 an hour, then that's $300 to $400 a month. If you're in the 5 hour energy community, then that's at least $500 a month. If you crack that open up to just two videos every single week for a month, now that jumps to $600 to $800. Then for the 5 hour energy club, if you are doing 2 videos per week, then that's at least $1,000 per month that it's costing you. So it's already costing something. It already costs something. This is a number that I didn't pay that much attention to when going through the process initially of hiring somebody, like even before when I worked a job. And then when I went through training kind of like this, and it talked about it, I was like, I need a virtual assistant more when I'm working a job than when I don't. Like when I didn't even think about, I thought honestly going full-time would be years down the line. And so because I thought like hiring somebody would be years down the line, I didn't really think about it. I just figured like I just need to work harder, do more. And we hear the whole thing about work smarter, not harder, but this is one of those real life concepts. If you work a job, I don't care if it's part-time, full-time, women that work full-time at home, you don't clock in for somebody, but you clock in for your kids. I have my nieces and nephews over here for less than 24 hours. I was over it. It's ready to return the sender, okay? For those of you that know, I have lost track of how many nieces and nephews I have, somewhere in the 21 ballpark, and it was only 2 over here this time. I was like, you know what? I'm not built for this. I'm not built for this. So if you are a mother, may the Lord bless you and keep you always, because you're doing it full time. All right. So the more that you already have something commanding a ton of your time, the more that you need to take an honest look at letting somebody lighten the load. You can't do it all by yourself, at least not to build important and significant vision with the work that you're doing. First thing that you want to do if you are looking to bring somebody on, you got to identify your needs for the specific job role. I said, I'm not going to cover about a virtual assistant today, but if that's where you need to hire somebody more, because there were some of you, just not as many as it was for video editor. But if that's what you need, like, what are the list of things that you actually need to do? Really sit down and write that down. Don't just figure like, we'll produce the video and that's it. Now, you haven't thought about this enough in depth if you are only thinking about 1 to 3 or 5 bullet points. Because again, editing a video is not just editing the video. You still have to do all the research and stuff that you, the creator, still want to do before you get started. Whether that's watching other videos in your niche to see what's happening or whatever, reading other articles. When you're going through the formulation of the idea, so you're capturing notes, you're sitting down, you're thinking about it. Those are also times and those are hours that are not accounted for in that other slide. It's not accounted for. We're just saying, like, if when you sit down and you've done all this stuff already, they don't account for the time that it takes to make the thumbnail. They don't account for the time that it takes if you're doing any kind of SEO content. It does not account for the time that it takes when you're doing any of the stuff for promoting your content. It has nothing to do with your overall content strategy or any other goals that you have outside of actually producing that singular video. When you start to look at now, what are the things that I need for somebody to do this? You need to go find music. You got to, again, now this is where you start to give away some of that control. This was me all day long, 24/7, 365. How am I going to release the control of this is my baby, this is my brand, this person can't do it as well as I can, they're not going to be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, you feel some kind of way about giving away, but I submit to you, all of you that have children, you literally birthed out a little version of you and sent them away to a public school system most of y'all don't agree with. And you leave it up to, especially if they're, heaven forbid they be in America with all the crap we got going on over here. You don't really trust a whole bunch of other stuff. You may not like the teacher, but you send your actual child out there and you let them go and you go to school. And you say, well, they have to go. Great. If you would give your child into a system, a school system, in order for their betterment, because you hope that the pros outweigh the cons. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're doing your best to ensure that the pros outweigh the cons. Why wouldn't we do the same with our brand and our content? It's okay. It's a piece of content. It's a video. This isn't the only video that they're ever going to make or edit. This isn't the only time that you can create or talk about that topic. There will be other opportunities. One, for content to get better if you're having like a trust issue, which for me, again, if you're anything like how I was, it was a trust thing. It was a huge trust factor of like, well, let me see where they at now. I don't know if I like this yet. The one thing I can tell you, if you're in the process of hiring, if you want to start the process of hiring anytime soon, when you find and identify what the roles and the stuff is that this person should be doing, and you bring somebody on to actually start doing that stuff, go mind you some business. Go find some business and mind it. Because you're offloading all of this work and you're offloading all of this free time. What does this make possible for you? What is now available to you when you can have that much time back? Imagine if, because I know from my parents working, my mother being an entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur, my father working full-time for a local company here in St. Louis. Okay, what if they didn't have to spend 40 hours after the clock doing other stuff? We had like janitorial contracts, we did other work. So what if they didn't have to spend those extra 40 hours plus that maybe some of y'all are spending in editing, and we could do something else? How much time could you spend on vacation? Would you have to cut vacation short now because you have to get back into, you know what I'm saying? Like, what does it make possible? Income wise, what does it make possible for you? So start thinking about, like, if I hand all this off, dag, what can I do? It's a very freeing thing, but you have to identify what the roles are that you want that person to do. And what is that going to consist of? Finding music, go find B-roll, images. You'll have like different text and stuff like that, but you have to start putting the pieces together. The second thing is going to be organizing your stuff that you're already doing. Most of y'all said from the previous slide that you're already kind of doing some amounts of editing and whatnot. Great. Chances are you already have, this is where, again, that control freak in you can start to get some relief, because I want y'all to start organizing your stuff. If you haven't done this already, you can start on this today. I don't care where you are from the start now to the eventual hiring. You can start doing this today, because most content creators are very unorganized. There's no system or flow, really, or workflow of what you're doing. You just know to keep doing the same stuff around about the same order, but you don't really have a systematic approach to actually complete doing what you're doing. And if you're going to do any of that, you have to be organized. The way our Dropbox file system, that's what we use in the company, is that we're taking all of the things that we use from and I mean, like, get nitty gritty with it. Like, what is the fonts that you use? What's your primary and your dominant font? And then what is that associative font, if you will? Like, what's those assets that you use all the time? You'll notice across most of the YouTube videos, some tracks, audio-wise, music even, you'll hear some of the same songs. It's just because it fits the vibe of the brand. I like it. My editor likes it. And just like, you know, I don't mind reusing this one. I like this track. What fits your brand? What are elements? What are songs or examples of songs that you like that fit your brand? You've already probably downloaded. You probably already have Epidemic Sound or something like that. Start taking that and putting that into a Dropbox folder. These are now and can be approved assets that are available for use. What are the plugins if you're using something like Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, or whatever? What are some of the assets that you use that even if you hired somebody, because a lot of people that are getting into kind of like professional editing, they either use like DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, or Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro. If they're using one of those three, is there maybe wherever you bought or you got your assets from? Because most of the time it is. Can I start getting like the Premiere Pro version of that asset? Because I use Final Cut. That doesn't mean that the editors I bring on the team will. And it's been like that, where we have the asset in every downloadable version. If it's DaVinci Resolve is available, we'll grab that one and pass that along and put it in the Dropbox folder. So if we bring on an editor that's using DaVinci Resolve, which we haven't had, that is either Final Cut Pro or Adobe, then it's like, here's the assets for Final Cut Pro, here's the assets for Adobe Premiere Pro. Grab it. If you're using, again, songs, sound effects even, certain branded assets that fit the aesthetic, this is how you can make sure that what you do in a video is replicated. What are those duplicatable processes and aspect of what you're doing? Let's hop back into the comments real quick. Saw this comment before and said it's very tough and time demanding when it comes to editing. It absolutely is. It said, I never clicked on the video so fast. I definitely need this. I've hired an editor, but I want to hear a lot more information about it. I feel you. Dominga, you're in great company this fine day. I 100% hear you saying a little off topic, but what do you think about using a teleprompter? I will mark this dangerous conversation. Interesting name. I'll mark that, and we'll come back to that when we dive into Q&A real heavy. And then we'll come back to this. I do see some other comments, but I know I'm going to get sidetracked. Y'all know how we do. So if you've been on the channel for a minute. But you have to organize your stuff. Like, this is huge. Like, this is going to be it's more important than you realize. If you're not organized with your stuff, let's just do a basic outline. I like to go off of a numbered system in Dropbox. That way, no matter what I add in now, later, or whatever the priority is in the work that we're doing, the numbered system allows for us to always make sure we can find where that folder is amongst stuff. There's only one folder that my team has access to, and that's our team folder. Then when you go into that folder, you'll see that it's now folder 0 will be like brand assets. So the branding assets will include things like your font that you tend to use. If there's a certain kind of like effects plugin and things like that, again, that now becomes a subfolder within there. So folder 0, assets, go into that folder. Now, what are the components of your brand assets? If you haven't invested in somebody doing like a brand style guide, or at a very base level, a brand style guide, go do that. If you use Canva, that's a great starting point, because chances are you've already done some of the beginner starter work. Canva will let you upload your fonts. Canva will let you upload your brand colors and those hex numbers. So in my brand assets folder, there's an actual style guide that shows here are the graphics and the images. Here's the company logo as it updates. Then we'll update the company logo. And so at some point, like you'll put like, this is old stuff. I just like to put a folder, it's like folder number 99 or something. So it's always at the bottom. It's like, this is old stuff that I used to use, but that I don't. Why would you keep it? Because sometimes if you're doing like a video I did, I think last year or something, where it's like 5 years in making content, and I wanted to kind of talk about that process, then I'm like, okay, well, I need to show what that's like. So we have old stuff. If you have B-roll that you shoot, maybe it's your office, maybe it's your product. If you do digital projects or something like that and products, put that stuff in a folder. What are your brand assets for those images that goes with things that fits the aesthetic of your brand? What's your brand colors? So what's that hex key number, that hex value code that you can see it in Canva? If you need a free account for Canva, go to dyna.link/Canva. There's also, like, if you're a teacher, if you are some kind of service provider and a student, and I think it's a couple other categories, you can get Canva Pro for free. But Canva on the base level, though, has a free trial. So if you do nothing else, it's a great asset. So Canva will help start getting you the baseline, but actually put it in an actual formal document so that your team has access to this. The one thing that I want to do when I'm building and I'm hiring, or when I was building and hiring a team, because I already have the team now, then is I wanted to empower them to just go and find the stuff and not have to ask me, not questions, because questions are always accepted, but let's get quality questions. So it's not just random stuff. So organizing your things into a systematic folder and approach of where they should go to get certain stuff, how they should find it, what it should say, what's the font size. We have in a company what's called like a day one document. So when people are getting started from day one, they have all the stuff that they need to know how to do. All the things that they need to know how to do. It shows them. We use this font for this. When you're doing micro content and you're doing like the header and then you're doing this, it goes like this. The stuff you're doing is not so magical. And let me go full screen for this because I feel some kind of way. Just put a little asterisk next to this. What you're doing as a content creating entrepreneur is so valuable that you need to bring somebody on so that you can expand. However, if you feel that what you do is so special that it cannot be duplicated or replicated with your, as Doc like to say, je ne sais quoi, your special sauce, this ain't gonna work for you. Because you have to see value in, one, the other person's work. And I give my team creative liberty. Like, yeah, these are the brand assets and stuff. But if you think of something and you have an idea, go for the gold. Go for the gold. And then if it's like, no, it's like, I like it, it's funny or whatever. It's like, but it's like, let's take it out. Let's lighten it or whatever. But I give them creative freedom. Sometimes stuff will get added and it's like, I never would have thought of that. Stop thinking like you're the best of the best in the Bee's Knees Hall of Fame in a good way. There are other people that can edit better than you. There are other people that can create graphics better than you. there are other people that can learn to adopt. Like, think about this. Who is your favorite creator? Who's your favorite writer? Who's your favorite, like, you know what I'm saying, like author doing different things, your favorite musician? All of those styles can be adapted, copied, sampled, inspired by. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if you think that you can't bring somebody on to help you because there's just some essence about you that can't be replicated, it's like, to an extent, yeah, but I mean, unless you Jimi Hendrix out here in these streets, you know what I'm saying? Like, unless you Prince out here in these streets, like, let's calm down. We're hiring a video editor, okay? We're not asking somebody to build a mausoleum someplace. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's calm down. Like, like, it is a piece of art. It is a piece of your work, but you can have people that adopt your brand and your style. And the cool thing is, when you hire an editor, they're consuming your content. So they come to know your brand voice. And this is something that does not get discussed far enough. There's something what's called a brand voice guide. Matter of fact, we're still in development for this in my company, but this is something that we're consistently talking about so that your essence, your style, your tone, all those things can be shared. It comes out. There are some things that my assistant will write, and I'm like, that sounds like me. It's like, or did I write this or did you write this? And it's like, no, I wrote. I'm like, damn, that's pretty good. You know, it's like, or it's just some stuff with my editor. It's just, I'm like, I didn't even think of that. I don't care if I sat on that video for 5 hours. I wouldn't have thought to do that. Or I'm asking like, Dad, how did you do that? Same thing with my assistant. She's creating different things in the company or different graphics, PDFs, whatever. And I'm like, I'm like, now hold on now. Okay. It's like, now how do you do this over here? And it could be something simple in Canva. And I'm like, where this at? I'm like, okay, well, shoot then. You know, your team is consuming your stuff. If they're working with you, you're working for them, they're working for you, they will adopt your brand. Like, the brand voice and the aesthetic, it will communicate and it will come across. So that's something to consider and really think about when you're hiring, you're building a team, you're bringing people on for your brand voice, and having like a brand voice guide is super important because it makes sure that your tonality, your essence, your vibe, your aesthetic, all that stuff comes across well, in addition to the great things and the other assets and the other benefits that they bring to the table. I was going to go to comments, but let me clear this last one here. We almost done with the slides side of things. And then we'll answer some questions that are in Q&A. So if you have questions, put those in the chat. I'm going to be hitting those up in just a second. The other thing is prepare the onboarding assets for whatever role it is that you're hiring. So it could be a micro content editor, like we know shorts, vertical video and stuff like that. It's not going away anytime soon. And just social media content that's different from your regular long form content, it's not going away. If you do a really heavy tutorial-based training, what are those aesthetics, those aspects of your brand that must be there? For example, like when it comes to things like I said, the reason why you want to get your stuff organized, because when you bring somebody on, the onboarding side of things is now that they can go through a little mini training to not just figure out where stuff is, like your Dropbox folders and whatnot, but now they can start going through the process of doing the work for you. The one thing I always encourage, like my students, those of you that's in the Video Simplify community, we've been talking about this in the community. You guys have access. Those of you that are already members, so let me pause for the calls real quick. Those of you that are already members of the Video Simplify community, you already have access to the Building a Brand course. So you should have got a message about that yesterday, maybe. Okay. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. But the reason why you want to put your stuff in Dropbox, those assets, what I'll do with the video editor is I'll create like a welcome video, and we have a welcome video in the company, so that when somebody's just getting started and they're a video editor, well, number one, it kind of like works for anybody, but they understand here's how we do tutorials and trainings. For example, there are certain things that are your things to do and the things not to do when you're going through a video. If we are talking about something that's really small on the screen, you'll notice when we do tutorials, not only do we zoom in, but we'll darken everything else around it, and it'll be like a gold like branded gold box that pops up. It's the same gold color that you'll see like on thumbnails and other assets, stuff like that. It's intentional. So those kind of things transition over. It's like, so when there is something on screen, we don't just leave it wide because it lets the eyes wander. So when you're teaching and you're training, I'll do a welcome video, and it'll be just as kind of like bare as this, no music, no anything. I recorded in Ecamm Live. It's like, hey, welcome to the team. My name is Diana Gladney. I'm the creator, the founder of the Video Simplify brand. And in this company, we help entrepreneurs simplify the video creation process. Now, purpose and importance of your role as video editor is to make sure that we actually are doing that. Like, I'll start talking through that process. I am not editing this video. Now, a lot of people like to do like sample projects. That's a question that kind of comes up. It's like, should you give people a sample project? I think it is a waste of time, to be honest with you, to do a sample project. And I've kind of considered and played around with that. Other than like for some stuff, it's like I don't really see much of a need for it. One, it's a waste of time on both ends. And number two, nobody out of the gate, I don't care how experienced they are, is going to actually edit a video with like they're not going to mimic and duplicate the exact things that you would want for your brand. So giving somebody like a test edit to see how they do, it's not going to really do you any good. I look at their work, and there's a couple things that, like, when I'm going through the interview process and I'm going to hire somebody, or I'm looking through, like, before I hire them, this is before even the interview, I'm looking at their work. I'll say a couple things that they should share with me in their application. What's your most proudest piece that you've ever produced? Like, share with me the thing that you're most proud of. I don't care what kind of video it is, just share with me like your proudest video. What that's going to do for me is share with me what they value. Is it like some kind of a storytelling? Is it like a super dense, long editing tutorial, something where they took a lot of hours to make sure they crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's? Like, it'll let me see what they actually value as a video editor. When they share with me their most produced, not necessarily like the most produced piece, but like the one that they're most proud of. Then I'll have them to share with me, give me an example of some kind of tutorial or like a technical video or something. They don't necessarily have to be in tech, but give me an example of like a tutorial or training style video. Because if you're doing the stuff that we do in the company, it's pretty much all we're doing. Education-based content. We're not doing like a whole, but like the skits, it's like, we do some skits, like we did the one with the Z30 and the Nikon Z30 and the ZVE10. That's not every day. You know, it'd be different if we were doing some other kind of comedy-based channel or whatever. But so show me, do you have an example to share with me of that? And then I'll ask for like a social media style content or video that they've used in the application, or like share with me something like that. And if they want to share something else that they enjoy or that they like or whatever reason, then they can. But I'm really only just looking for those 3 different types of videos. If you're not seeing what you want in that initial thing, you can ask the request to see other samples, like to suggest their work. Like, I'm not seeing what I'm looking for here. Do you have any other examples? And then that stops a lot of people in their tracks at that point, because now you find out if they're experienced and they've done a lot of different editing projects or whatever, or are they not? And be like, yeah, I don't have any training tutorial. I've never done that kind of stuff before. It's a little different now. So when you're going through the process, like the onboarding side of things, like the stuff you want to think through is the process of going through and hiring. So like I said, getting your assets and things together. It's in preparation for when you bring somebody on, but I will do a welcome video. That becomes somebody's first edit in the company, because everything of what I'm saying, like for example, we use the say, show, and spell method. So as I'm saying something, like as I'm talking about, so tip number 3 is to make sure you prepare okay, we do the same thing, live stream, regular content, say, show, and spell method. If I'm saying something, I'm going to show it to you. The spelling is going to be clear on that device or clearly available on the screen. So when I'm giving this in this welcome video that they're going to edit, I'm going to have them add examples of what that looks like. So you can, one, they're learning actually how to do and implement what is important and what are the values to pull off a piece of content like you do. And then number 2, you have a welcome video that actually is a finished and produced product. So as you bring on other people in the company, that is done. Make another one if you want to hire a virtual assistant What are the most and key important things that happen within the role? For example, in our company is making sure that any PDF guide or anything free downloadable that we provide, there is an asset that is available that's branded to the Video Simplified brand using these specific colors. These are the hex key numbers or whatever, using also the brand style guide. My expectation, if I'm giving that to a video editor, is that they're pulling all that stuff up on screen. They're implementing what they just were taught in the welcome video. So that's how I kind of like skip over the whole thing of that person doing a training or whatever kind of video, like a pre-edit or something. They don't even work for you yet. Now you kind of like reviewing a bunch of stuff. It's just a waste of time and it's a waste of money for a lot of people. So this is just my thoughts on that. Let's go into some Q&A real quick here. Alex in the building saying, I just sent the offer letter to my first potential full-time editor today. That's what I'm talking about. Got a chance to meet with Alex and go over this process. So he know what's up. Said this is a stream I need, like pre-production. I love production. Post-production is draining stuff. That includes sharing on socials and especially editing. I've been looking at Filipino editors. My team is overseas. It works phenomenally for us in the business because we're working on like a 24-hour day schedule. Not that we're like working 12-hour shifts, everybody like that. It's unrealistic. But what we're doing is when I'm working, for example, like I'm up now, they're not. But what we will find, put an asterisk next to this live stream that I'm doing right now, middle of the day, because I'm using Ecamm, I'll get that video file and I'll upload it to Dropbox, assign that task out, and by tonight, that task is already assigned out. Now, there's other work and stuff that's already scheduled for today, so it's not going to get started editing today because we are like, content-wise, we're like, in some aspects, we're 60 days in advance on content. On YouTube videos, or somewhere between, depending on the posting schedule I finalize, which is going to switch us to anywhere from 2 to 3 videos per week. We're like 45 days like ahead because working on rotation, like I'm doing stuff during my daytime. I don't require my team to work US daytime hours. That's something like if you do to hire somebody overseas or even in another time zone, they don't have to work when I work. I'm going to assign stuff out far enough in advance. You can work whenever you want to. I genuinely do not care as long as the work gets done by the due date. That's all I care about. That's one of like the pros and the benefits. Like, for example, with working with my company, those that I help teach and train on how to do all this stuff, I highly encourage that. I highly encourage that. Let me pause for the calls real quick. Yeah, there's a training to go with this. There's actually a course called Building a Team. You can put your phone up to that QR code and it'll take you right on over. It's a launch price through this week. On Friday, actually it'll be somewhere like Thursday night or whatever. That price disappears and it goes to its regular price because on Friday we're going to be doing a live stream in the community, the Video Simplified community where all this is at. But you put this up to your phone right now and grab the QR code, or you can go to buildingateam.live if you want to get access to the course. And what this does is goes into the course. Like, like, I don't know how else to put it to you. So like, for example, this is the table of contents. This is all the stuff that we go through, the pre-hiring phase, what you'll learn in the course, who should you hire. This covers not only like a video editor, but it also covers hiring a virtual assistant, because hiring both is best. I started hiring a virtual assistant when I worked full-time at the bank. Best thing since sliced bread. But I should have hired a video editor too, and I wasn't thinking. Having now done both of those, it's the best thing. So at some point, you're going to need both. We go through building effective systems that save you time and money, how to create like those standard operating procedures, that stuff that my assistant does. So even if we do something brand new and we flesh out like the best way to execute on that, we now create like a written document that goes through how to complete that, in addition to like training videos and stuff, which Ecamm Live makes all that stuff super easy and possible. I break down my Asana structure of how we work so that we can get so far ahead in advance. And I break this down into phases. So phase 2, go through the application, the interview and the hiring process. I covered the should you sample request sample projects for somebody. Short answer, no. It's a waste of money and a waste of time. Unless you're gonna pay them for their time, and even then, it's a waste of money because they're not gonna do it the way that you want it to. It may be a nice version, but it's still gonna need to have revisions. So I go through and I show you, and there's plenty of swipe files throughout this whole process, so you can get the PDF guide on exactly what goes on the application for a video editor to weed out the people that's a waste of time. One thing I'm about saving money and saving time, not because of a scarcity mindset, but just because of the value. You can earn money back, but you can't earn money back without some amount of time to commit to doing certain things. And just as a content creating entrepreneur, it's impossible to do playing the games around with wasting time. You know what I'm saying? So I share with you, so you don't have to start from scratch, what you put in the application so that you weed out the people that maybe aren't skilled enough and stuff like that for video editors, as well as for virtual assistants. And again, some other ways that you can avoid wasting money when you're preparing to hire somebody. A number one thing that you absolutely must do after every interview, this makes sure that the whole thing around hire slow and fire fast, I learned that the hard way. I learned that the hard way. Don't learn it the hard way, okay? Not only is it expensive, but your leadership skills that you develop in going from just being a solo creator to expanding out and to actually, you know what I'm saying, doing this in a very freeing and life-giving way, it's something else. I don't know how else to put it to you. It's something else. So I share with you some things that you want to do after an interview to make sure that you don't have to worry about hiring bad candidates that look good on paper, but they're not great in person and actually working with them. The 17 best interview questions, whether it's for virtual assistants or video editors. Again, swipe files on both of those. How do you go through hiring certain candidates, the onboarding process. We even go through phase 3 on brand culture for your brand. For example, there's some stuff I see people do in their stuff in their companies now that they're the boss. You hated that when you worked in corporate American stuff. Why you bring that over to your stuff? It don't work. One thing that I love, one of my favorite things we do in the company is this meeting could have been an email rule, which means if the meeting could have been an email, it's not going to be an email. It's going to be a message in Slack. And it literally says this meeting could have been an email, quick synopsis. No team huddle tonight. Here's what we need to cover. That was yesterday. We usually have team huddles on Monday or a Wednesday, kind of transitioning to it being a Wednesday time frame, but this meeting could have been an email. If it could be an email, it's not going to even be that. It's going to be a message in Slack. But there's elements and stuff that you do in your team huddles that make the whole process worthwhile and just honestly enjoyable. 100% enjoyable. Let me get some water. All right, Q&A. Saying these foreign editors from Magic Assistants in Malaysia charge $100 a month, which is not bad. Want to share S&P with working with remote editors. So you have what is this? South America. Was it a lot of different areas over in Manila, over in the Philippines and stuff. You can hire somebody from a lot of different places, not just India or the Philippines. A lot of people think it's those two dynamics. You can't hire anywhere. And it's not so much so $100 per month or whatever, because here's the one thing that I do differently in my interviews that has helped to completely cure a lot of the issues when it comes to hiring somebody. How much should you ask them? Not even how much you should ask them. How much should you pay them or whatever? I do something a little different. I ask everybody, what do you need to make this work? Because if I'm interviewing them, I'm considering hiring them. What happens in the interview process and then me going through and sorting out candidates and whatnot dictates eventually who gets hired. But I ask everybody, what do you need to make this work per month? So I'm not necessarily trying to hire the person at the cheapest rate ever. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the difference with that is if they're saying it's like only $100 a month, sometimes people will set a price so that they can get the interview, so that they can get hired eventually just to ask for more money later on, or they're going to quit because it's not going to work. So the other thing with that is like the currency exchange from US dollars to other currencies. And it's a bunch of different online tools or whatever out there. So whatever it is that you're actually paying them, if they prefer US dollars, like for example, everybody on my team does, because it converts higher in their local currency. So at different times, yeah, they're going to get what their base rate is, but it can be a little bit more. I'm not mad about that. That's fine. But financially, it's like if it doesn't make sense for what you're actually paying them, you're going to have a revolving door of people that are going in and out. Yeah, it may be $100 a month or $2 to $3. You'll see some people advertise or whatever per month. But if it's not enough financially to make it make sense for them, they're not going to stay. So I asked everybody during the interview, what do you need financially to make this work? Give me a real number. I've had some people be like, oh, well, we can negotiate. I don't negotiate. I'm going to make an offer. Like when I'm going through, if I decide that this person is a good fit and I'm going to hire this person, or at least make an offer to hire this person, I'm going to put a number in the document and I'll send it to them. But I need to know what that number is that makes the most sense for us to work together. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And I know there's like a automatic red flags. They go, what if they ask for $100 an hour? They got to be realistic with their expectations too. And everybody pauses on that. It's something I do personally a little bit differently, just because I have done the freelancing contract to work stuff before. And it don't matter that you got a client if you eventually not going to keep that client, because the money that's just getting paid for the amount of work that you're doing, you getting more and more pissed off the more work that you get. It works for them. It doesn't work for you. And so then you're eventually trying to like bump the price up to make it make sense financially. And that sets a bad tone. But then two, it's just like a constant like, Dad, how much you gonna keep asking for? You know what I'm saying? I'm just realistic with my people. Like, what do you need to make this work? And they got to throw up a real number. I've never had somebody give me a fake number. And you know if somebody gives you a fake number, if like, they're like, I don't know, $1,000. It's like, okay, you're not taking it seriously. I don't have time for that. Interview's over. We're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to end it like that, but I will cut it short. Like, okay, that's everything I need. You know, because at that point, the money conversation comes at the end of the interview. But I'm asking everybody, what do they need to make this work financially? Because number one, I wouldn't have interviewed them most of the time if they're not somewhere within the ballpark. And everybody has on like these job boards, ideally what they would like to make or whatever. But I need to know if that's the real number. Because the one thing that you'll hate to have is somebody that's great, adopts so many great things and all this stuff, but the number ain't right for them and they eventually quit. So the thing I start doing from day one that's different from when I worked full time and I hired somebody, you are looking for the cheapest price or whatever. But I just ask everybody, what's your number? What do you need to make this work? Because I don't want to have the money conversation again. I don't want to come back around to this 3, 4, 6 months later, 12 months down the line, and it's like, this ain't enough money. I don't even want to have that conversation. What do you need for us to make this work? So don't interview them if it's not within the scope of what you are willing to pay somebody, but make sure it's the real number, because otherwise the work gonna slag and they just like, well, milk the cow then, versus, you know what I'm saying, like truly building up a good aesthetic and all of that. Tiffany, thank you. Saying your locks are flourishing on topic. I'm at 5 hours I'm a 5-hour person, and I'm attempting to simplify my edits considerably. The one thing that I can say that you can start adopting now, that even if you're editing for yourself, talk to the editor, even if the editor is you. And here's what I mean by that. When you're going through the process of like starting the video, or maybe like the intros, like sometimes it takes a minute to nail what you're doing. What I would recommend is like screw all those other intros, like use the last one. So I'm audibly saying in the video, file, that is, and as you're doing the recording, what to keep and what not. I used to do the whole clapping thing, or I used to hold my hand up to the screen. So if I see a bunch of frames where it's just my hand, then I know all of a sudden that to go like and get rid of all the stuff before my hand. It's just, I found it easier just to kind of like talk through the edit, because as you hit play to see if that's a usable segment, then at that point, like, you know what you told yourself. And it helps if it's taking you a minute to get to that, like if you batch record, but then it takes you a minute to get to the other one, so you don't quite remember where all the mistakes and stuff was. That's something that's worked really well as you're moving over into even hiring an editor, because I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna need to read a specific line here, so put B-roll on the screen while I'm reading it. And, you know, I'm talking through it. So like we're communicating even though it's a video. Or I'm like, you know what? I like the way I did it the third time. So take that one and screw the rest of them. I'm like, okay, let's move on to tip number 1. Like just that audible talking will help you, 1, get through the edits. And then 2, it's like you learn to start looking at the audio wavelengths to see when it's like this one was the longest, this one was short. Chances are the other short ones are trash. Like you're not keeping those. So like talking through the edit, or what idea maybe you had at the moment of you recording, helps you save a little bit of time when you come back around to that video file, or when you hand that off to somebody. You can communicate that, and it's already like baked into the video file. So that's one thing I like to do, especially like when we're doing something different, or like it's a new idea for something. Then like even if you're doing the edits yourself, because you are most clear in editing the video if you're the one doing it, you still remember the ideas, and it's fresh and you just did it. The longer it's taking you to get to like a recorded video, the longer that it takes. You know what I'm saying? So, alrighty. Got another question coming up here. Hold on. What is up, Exploring Canada? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Finally caught you live again. Indeed. Said I'm trying to do way less though. I need to set a timer, then step away when the timer runs out. So one thing I would recommend, like if you haven't tried it already, is Toggle. It's spelled Togg and the letter L. So it's not Toggle spelled correctly, but if it's just Google Toggl, you can set a timer. But if you're not done or whatever, or you're trying to finish off an idea or a thought, you're still gonna run over. But if you're wanting to track like how long it actually is taking you to do certain things or what have you, Toggle is a great tool that I've enjoyed using recently. I started using it like in 2020 and then just haven't needed it. But I'm like, I want to track time for some different things right now. I start using Toggle. So Toggle's a great way to do that. Different people use like the Pomodoro methods. And those are good to work in certain sprints or whatever. Like Alex, he may mention like he likes to do here, like 90-minute sprints. What I found with that is not 90-minute sprints, but what I found with like setting a timer and like be done by these many minutes, all I'm doing is looking at the clock consistently to see where I'm at versus staying focused. So the timer thing don't work for me, especially because number 1, and again, it's just me personally, what I found is I'm trying to finish an idea, and if I walk away from this, chances are I'm probably going to forget some elements of it. So that's what I be trying to hold on to for real. Saying down-to-earth contents like this is almost non-existent on YouTube. You're directly speaking to my stress points. Glad to be of assistance. Tiffany saying, go mind you some business. The one thing like that, if you're going to hire somebody, is go mind you some business. Once you do, I promise you, it's something I've audibly told myself, because you're waiting to see, I wonder where they at on this, or is this done yet? Or I don't know. What about, you know what I'm saying? So the system that we use for time tracking has screenshots. So number 1, you do want to make sure it's a way to go through to make sure you're not getting ripped off and stuff, and make sure work is being done for you and not for other people. For me, that's like an automatic termination. Not gonna lie. I've fired people for that. Oh, I say not people. I've fired a person. I've not had to fire people. I had to fire a person for that. So it is definitely beneficial. And again, hiring somebody is a big trust thing. So what I've noticed is that if I don't go through initially and like just to make sure stuff is good, then it's like I'm not going to be, you're still mentally going to be distracted. But what I will do though is make sure that I have something else scheduled at the time that that person or persons is supposed to be working. That way, again, go mind you some business. Go find and mind you some business. Because waiting like this, still, if you still looking every couple hours, you ain't doing nothing. For real. Like set a time, like if they're scheduled to work a certain block hours that you're going to be available or something, be available for like questions and stuff. Great tool that we love to use in the company is Slack for communications in general. Again, great for DMs, uploading documents, audio, video, stuff like that. Sometimes our team huddles, like I don't like to meet just for the sake of meeting for no reason. And you know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of stuff I didn't like working in corporate America, I've implemented in the company, but we do meet because we have to establish the team culture and all of that, right? And then too, just to see how everybody's doing. So there are certain elements and stuff that Slack makes possible, and it integrates really nicely, like with Asana, which is what we use for like assigning tasks and work. So if something is being assigned and like they're working on an edit that I really want to put out by whatever, I'm excited about the video and all of whatever, go find you some business while that person is working and wait your turn and to tap in, which is when it comes to reviewing content. Other than that, go mind you some business. Don't worry about if it's on track, because all you're going to do is distract them, and nobody likes to be micromanaged. And I refuse to micromanage people in my company, so go find you some business. The best thing that you're going to do when you schedule somebody else to work, if you're going to be online as well, go find you something else to do. There's a reason why you hired them to get back your time. Go do that. Go play with your kids. Go talk to your friends. Go out for the girls' afternoon that you've been wanting to do for forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, go find you something else to do. Saying others will just tell you to press record, not explaining the hard work that goes on the back end. You know, the process of starting a YouTube channel is, the depths are different for different individuals. There's some people that can just do talking head B-roll, not talking head B-roll, talking head video with no B-roll really, no images, text, or anything that really comes on the screen. But their voice, their tonality, their approach, for whatever reason, it's like you're attracted to them. Case in point, 3 Guys and an Elephant is the YouTube channel. Hugh Brownstone is his name. I love to just sit and listen to him. So he's a great orator. There are some people that just have that voice, great orator. So different strokes for different folks. Everybody's process of how to go through and bring a video idea to life is different. What I ultimately want to see on even my channel, the what's up here, I haven't birthed out yet into the channel yet. Like, it's always like a progressive process of moving forward, but you have to have realistic expectations of where am I at right now. There's a thing that I taught before I bring this up real quick, which is the content quadrant. This is something that I teach consistently. I want to start, for real, I want to do a dedicated video on this. I think we did a live stream on it. But this content quadrant will help you with making sure that you can take those ideas that you have and start putting them through some kind of a framework so that the time that you invest into doing like the raw content makes sense. So the content quadrant that I developed is one, because I have stage 4 endometriosis. Like, anybody's new here, I have stage 4 endometriosis. Google it. Like, I hate it. If it's anybody I can sock in the jaw right now, it'd be endometriosis. It'd be the biggest fight of the century. But I had to find a way to work through the content for me personally, working full time, already not feeling well. So if you have chronic headaches, whatever, back problems, maybe you have surgery on a knee, it's a ton of stuff. Everybody deal like a lot of different things. So the process of going through and birthing a video to life can feel overwhelming. So one of the things that I had to develop was I had to look at what is the amount of time that I actually have and actually can commit to. It's very easy to come up with a list of video ideas. It's harder when you say, I really want to do this one I'm most excited about, but that's going to be a hard hitter. For example, going from this, quick hitter is YouTube short. It's easy, or it's a shorter video. Some of those ones we've recently done on like the new Sony APS-C lenses, don't take a whole bunch of time to do those. Those are quick hitters. Real easy to pop those out. I already know what I want to say. I already know how I want to approach it. Like, we're good. Then I have the light planners. Those are other videos. Again, some of those lens videos may fall into there, but it just doesn't take the same amount of time to execute on it. Then I have the medium planners and the hard hitters, which those are videos that if I look at this content quadrant, now helps me to assess with the time that I have for the week, even again, that whether I was working full time or if I'm working full time for myself now, then what do I have available to me? Because it's honestly no different with not feeling well. There are some days I'm just out of commission. This is why we work in advance. So like this week, I'm gonna be doing a bunch of quick hitters just because sporadic bursts of energy are there. And like looking and saying, I don't have the time to create this. You know, no, you just don't have the time to create what you maybe ideally would like and bring it to life. But there's some other stuff that you can do in the process. So the whole thing around like timing and the like I use this. So those that went through the masterclass, you saw like a breakdown of all of it. So saying even your preferred emojis when it comes to like brand assets, absolutely. Even like down to certain ones that we use for like your skin tone. I like stuff that's representative of me and like the target audience and the who I'm talking to and people I know in the community, but more or less me. So my emojis kind of have the darker skin. The one for like the Apple one has the dreads or whatever. Skip coming to a theater near you around some stuff around that. But yeah, I save it all. Is that Shakar? Is that how you pronounce your name? Let me know how to pronounce your name. Saying great tip. Glad to be of service. What's going on, Eric? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Excuse me. Is it Shango or Shanjo? Maybe depends. Let me know how to pronounce your name properly as well. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying dropping gems from the Creator's Craft. Saying thanks for coming in live. Amazing session. Regards. You're very welcome. Saying employers can't send videos that the business would use for a sample project without pay. So the difference with when you're hiring a contractor, because if it's different if like you bring somebody on that technically qualifies as a employee, I would highly encourage you to probably reach out to an accountant or just look up the IRS code that will tell you if it's an employee or a contractor. The people in my company are not employees, they're contractors. So it depends. Most of the time when people are hiring like a video editor or a virtual assistant, they're hiring them out as a contractor, not as what will qualify as an employee. But I just think in general, it sucks to be like, if I was trying to go for something, they'd be like, well, send us some work first for us, and then we'll see. It's like, no, there is some people it's kind of shady, just want free work. No, I just want to make sure that that person is a great fit. That's literally the whole process, interview process. Is this person a great fit? It has to be right on both ends. Some of the things that I've looked for that even if, again, on paper they look good, but then when you meet that person, because I require video to be on, so we need to have, as best as we can, a face-to-face here, because there's certain things in the expression, the tonality. I've done an interview, I remember this one guy, just like completely disinterested in, like he just like, somebody hired me. Like, brother looked like he was on his last straw. And I'm like, you know, if I got to feel like I'm pulling teeth, we're good. We're good. Look great on paper, terrible in person. Because the other thing that I'm looking for is you're not going to be working by yourself. You're not going to be working by yourself. So at different times, we've had like 2 and 3 and 4 different people on the team. It's like, if somebody else is communicating with you, it sets a bad vibe and tone when that person doesn't get well. So they have to fit the brand. Do you fit the culture of the company? If they don't, before you even get started. So it's a lot of stuff that you can draw out in an interview that makes the difference tremendously well versus wasting your time. And now you got to bring somebody on. You got to, like, trust me. What is going on? Vaughn Sanders in the building saying, what's up? Yeah, I'm late, but I'm sure there's more gems, 100%. Saying great gems. All right, all right. So, what do you need to make this work? Yes, that's the financial question. Once we get down into the interview questions, like I said, the 17 best questions, like, and just going through, there are some ones, again, this is another something that we've all been on the other side of that. So tell me, what's your vision for the company? I don't. I have a vision for the paycheck. I have a vision for the paycheck. It's what's behind right now. I have a vision that is going to get paid in full in Jesus' name. Amen. Like, my sister is the funniest with that. She'd be like, well, she said she's been in interviews. And they ask her something like that. I'm here for the money. I'm here for the money. It's no different. So I'll ask them, for example, one of the questions is, what is their goals with video editing in general? I don't care if they don't have a vision for my company. They don't want to help me grow. Like, all that stuff is stupid stuff that you say that you think that they want to say. I start my stuff off being as clear as I am now. If we're talking one-to-one, I'm a black and white person. I see stuff in black and white. I don't need you to try to make me feel good. I don't want you to say stuff that you think I'm on. We're just having a conversation. I say that before all of my interviews. I'm a very direct person. You won't have to guess what I'm thinking. I will tell you. If there's any frustrations or concerns, you will never be blindsided with me. You'll be very much so aware where I'm at and where I'm coming from. I value clear communication above all things. So this is us having a conversation. Don't tell me anything you think I want to hear because it's an interview. Let's just talk. I have questions I'm going to ask you. There'll be time where you can ask me questions, whatever it is you want to ask, and then we'll wrap up. It ain't going to take long. Most of my interviews take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. We book a 30-minute slot just to make sure, because if they have questions, then it just depends. You know what I'm saying? So I'll ask them, what do you need to make this work when we get towards the end of financially? Because we've already at that point had a real conversation. What do you need to make this work? If they have children, if they have a family, or they want to start a family, they don't care nothing about growing your company. They don't care about the vision that they saw online or how you open up the YouTube channels. None of that stuff matters to them until the money's right. Keep it black and white. So if the money is not going to make sense, if that number for whatever it is that you're willing to pay them is lower than what they actually need, all they're now taking on is another stressor with the hope and the expectation that they're going to get more money. And all that's going to do is piss you off on the back end because you thought that you were fine because they took that amount. It's no different than any of us started working at a job that was lower than what we actually needed, busting your butt in the beginning, trying to make a bunch of money, or trying to like either work overtime or like being on your P's and Q's so you can earn more money. And then when more money don't come to you, like, I might as well just act my wage. If I ain't gonna get no more, I might as well act my wage. I don't want that. I want people that genuinely enjoy what they're doing. I want people that genuinely enjoy like doing the stuff that they do. Not like, it's fine if you just need a quick hustle for 6 months or something. I'm realistic with that. And I'm fine with that if that's what you need. Because if that means like we have a good solid 6 months or whatever, and then you move on, that's cool. I don't care. But I do want to make sure that this is a great fit. Or if you're looking into just going full time in editing because you hated your corporate job, I'm cool with that too. But if you're, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're just working something on the side because you need more money, that's fine. But that just, again, gives you clear expectations into what to potentially expect with that person. And again, I value clear communication above all things. So when I'm having a real conversation with that person, I'm not trying to get the typical questions that come up in a job interview for the regular. I want to know the stuff that you was thinking about, like when you would drive into the interview. You got other stuff on your mind. What's most important to you? For example, family is extremely important to me. Take off. So your kid's sick, you don't need my daggone permission. Take them to the daggone hospital. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, just put a note in Slack and go on about your business. Handle your business. Family comes first. You not feeling well? Great. Guess what? I have stage 4 endometriosis. I'm 100% understanding when you just not feeling it. Take the day. My editor this week said he's like on vacation for something and he needs to enjoy yourself. May the Lord bless you and keep you always. So when when it comes through the process of bringing somebody on, like, be realistic. Yeah, a certain, like, there's a structure that must be set. I wanted to be initially when I first started hiring, and this was a problem. Like, you want to be as trusting and as relaxed as maybe you've always wanted to be, and that can't be, because it has to be a structure and a system to abide by. Because when you bring on other people and they see like these were the rules, but the rules can kind of bend. Some people just gonna bend it, and you like got one person that's doing the right thing and another person that's not, and it's like, what's the standard? So it's like, I'll have some elements of this meeting could have been an email because I'm in control of when we have huddles and when we don't. However, if it's certain things or certain rules about like working, getting the work done or whatever, over maybe the when you work, I don't care when you work. That's universal for everybody. Getting the work done, essential. Absolutely essential for everybody. It's your job. These are the stuff, these are the things assigned to you. Get your stuff done. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I've found that happy medium to be able to do that. But again, it had to be some kind of a structure, because not having one, you ain't doing nothing but signing yourself up for a headache that you pay for now. That's all I'm saying. Saying love that tip, Diana. Makes a ton of sense to talk it through 100%. And love Toggle. I like Toggle. Personally, like to track my own time, like how long it takes me to do stuff. It's not something that I would personally use. I've tried it with the team. When you're using certain tools for certain things, excuse me, like it has to be something that works for not just you, the entrepreneur, but something that also works for them as well. A lot of tools, you'll find that you like it has all the stuff that you need, but it sucks on their end. I find stuff that's a good happy medium. Sometimes it's a 60-40 payoff of, I'm getting more benefit out of it than sometimes they are on their end, or maybe slightly issues every blue moon. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm open with communication, and like this tool, like we tried Toggle initially, because one of the systems that we tried when hiring, tracking time and all that stuff, wasn't working. Fantastic on my side. Crashed. Time tracking inaccurate, or the hours that they worked were inaccurate completely, or just wouldn't show that they were actively working and stuff like that. Like, it was a huge nightmare. So it didn't matter that the reports and stuff were all the things that I wanted and needed on my side as the entrepreneur. If it sucked for them, then it's just not going to work. So I personally take that kind of stuff into account. And it's got to have somewhere at least like a 60-40 benefit somewhere, you know what I'm saying, for it to make sense. Toggle was more of like an 80-20. 80% great for them, 20% was not doing nearly any of the things that I needed. So when I'm saying like time tracking, don't use that. I don't recommend using that for the company. If you're going to hire somebody, Toggle just don't have the stuff that's needed. What is going on, Miss Eileen? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Vaughn saying, now that I've edited enough videos, I think I can communicate what I want and like to an editor. I enjoy it, but I need to scale soon. I'm going to tell you this. Tell you the truth. Hire before you need somebody. Because by the time you get to the point of actually needing somebody, you're now not only losing the amount of money that it already costs you to do the job, but you're losing even more money because you're losing opportunities that you can't always financially quantify, but it's definitely a significant amount. I promise you, hire before you're ready. Hire before you're ready. Hire before you're ready. You know why? Because you have the time to make sure and refine your systems. If you go based off of the way I talked about in the course to building a team, go to buildingateam.live. If you are hiring based on the system I'm teaching you, it's very little that you'll have to change. And that's just to adapt it to what you do. But I will say this, hire before you're ready. Because if you wait to hire when you need somebody, you're going to be stressed doubly, trying to make sure the stuff and onboard the person and make sure it's right and they're doing the things that you need and communicating without an attitude because you wanted it by this date, but you submitted it late. And then when they sent it back, it's taken longer than expected. They're stressed trying to rush it so they didn't do all the stuff that they would have done. And now you get the video and you're like, this ain't what I wanted. And then you send it back. Ask me why I know that. Hire before you need them. Because there's still work that you have to do when you do bring somebody on. And that's the review process. It's a review process. Making sure that the stuff is right. We don't work on stuff for forever. The only thing that took the longest that we've worked on recently was the masterclass. And there's still things I would have changed in it. But we touched it so many times and we worked on it for so long. It's like at some point it becomes like a nitpicking kind of thing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with producing with mistakes, not like big mistakes or whatever, but it's not 100%. It's like, dag, if it's at least 80 to 90% there and we've done all the extra, it's like everything else is nitpicking. And so hiring before you're ready gives you time to refine like you yourself. More than the technical aspects of the process, you have to change as a creator. From I can do it all myself. It's not as good as I would do it. What's some other one? Just like, oh, it would be faster if I did it. I already know what I'm trying to get them to do, so why don't I just do it? Get out the way. Get out the way. If I could shake you to the camera, get out the way. Move. In the immortal words of our brother Ludacris, who says, move, insert expletive, get out the way. The same is true as a content creator. Move and get out the way. It's other things that you can commit to, but hire before you're ready. I cannot express that enough. Hire before you're ready. Say, what exactly do you mean by 5 hours? Time made per week for editing. So you're referring to when I went back over here. So the timing, 5 hours per week. Let's blow this up so you can see this more clearly. For the people that said it took them 5 hours to produce one video, not 5 hours editing in general, like maybe for the month, but it took them 5 hours to edit one video. So, and that's 5 hours plus. So how much extra on top of that, I don't know, because I didn't go past like 8 and 10 hours and 12 hours, because I know some edits have taken that long for certain projects or certain things or whatever. I'm not putting a poll up for infinity, but if it's over 5 hours, it's already costing you significant amount of time. 3 to 4 hours is a lot, but to get the video produced and what it needs, then, it is what it is. So that's 5 hours to edit the video to completion, whether or not it's even done then, because some people will sit on the video for a minute, and I get that. Like, you'll sit on the video for a second, you're like, I'm gonna come back to it. It's done, but it's not exported, uploaded with thumbnail ready to go done. You know what I'm saying? It's still, I might want to tweak this a little bit later, or I'm gonna come back to it a little bit later. So that's what I mean by 5 hours there. What's up, Matthew Pate? Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying, I'm a video for my daughter's channel. She hired someone else who, oh, yeah, you are the video. Okay, I read it right. Said, this thread is out of line. She hired someone else who was way more expensive than me, but she likes my edits much better. The problem is, I don't like doing it. I only do it for, is that Miss, is it Pervy? I think it's her. Is it Purdy or Pervy? I think it's, I can't remember her name, because I remember you sharing something. I think it's Purdy, I think. Is that, I'm assuming, because that's who I remember you're always talking about, Miss Eileen. By the way, again, good to see you. So yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, just because you can, don't mean you should. That's a good lesson that I learned real quick. Just because you can, don't mean that you should. So just because you can do it, and maybe you could do it, or she does, like, that's like, you can train somebody else to do it. But in instances like hers, nobody will ever be good enough, no matter what skills that they bring to the table, if she can't get over a preference. That's a big one too. if you can't get over a preference that, oh, I just like this person's stuff. Well, what if you say, I'm done? She gonna give everybody else that work for her hell because Nicole Purvey, I think it was, you said her name was at one point. She gonna give everybody else hell because it's never good enough. I don't care what they do, it's never right because it wasn't maybe the unique approach of things of how you do it. What she should have done, being very honest, had you to onboard the editor. They didn't need to know how to learn her style. They should have did a side-by-side with you so that you can onboard the editor. She should have treated it no different than if she already had an editor and she's bringing that person on. Instead of letting them figure it out in the weeds or whatever, she should have had you do a side-by-side with that person so they can get on the wavelength of how you think and how you approach her content. That's why I said that it gets better over time. And over time doesn't mean like 6, 8, 12 months down the line. I'm saying like 30 days. 30 days is a whole lot of content. It's a whole lot of hours that person is sitting, and that does not include like revisions to the content. So they're going over it again. And then maybe, you know what I'm saying, like you watching the finished product after the fact or whatever. A lot of editors like to see their handiwork when it gets published or see that it's doing well. They'll go watch it again on YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever it's getting published to. So the person consuming the content, this is why I think it's great to reach into your own community as well for editors, is because they know your story, they know your journey, they know your style, they know the vibe. It's a bunch of stuff. For example, when I worked with Think Media, what was it, in 2019? It was easy. I was already consuming the content. I was already a student for a couple years. So it was super easy to go ahead and adapt the style or whatever. And just like, yeah, I know Heather would say this like this. Or like, I remember one time we were doing an ad for something. I think it was the, whatever the membership community is called. I can't remember right now. And I was like, Heather, I need you to do this kind of a piece. And I wrote out the script, study copywriting, courtesy of my mentor, Ray Edwards. So I already knew how they would want stuff done, what's important, what do they want to outline, and what's the call to action for the thing. And so I read off an example on my microphone and stuff with the inflections exactly as it should be. And I'm like, okay, Heather, I need you to go make that. She was like, why? You already did it. Mind if we use that? And I was like, I guess, but I'm like, shouldn't it be your voice? She's like, nope, this works. We're good. And that ad ran. Still see it come around sometimes. And people are like, is that your voice? It's like, yep, that's me. Because I was a student of the content already. I was already a student. So sometimes when you bring on people that are in your community, they're already going to be understanding of how you want stuff done. But the more your editor is consuming your content, they're listening to your trainings and stuff because they're editing the work. So they become even more ingrained into the process and your brand 100%. So how do you go about the steps to know your standards and procedures to write them down? Like, at what point do you say, all right, this will work, even though you don't feel certain about the step? Here's how I have people approach that. If you're going from not having any system to going into developing a system and structure and flow, again, in the Building a Team course, go to buildingateam.live. They'll go through what's all included. But there's an actual process of how to do that. One of the key elements, though, is record yourself. Sometimes if you're trying to train what you do, but you haven't written all like the stuff down, you don't really see all of what you do. Some of the best training content that you can develop to help bring somebody else on that knows nothing about what like your style is. They haven't been a student of your work. Maybe they're new to your niche and stuff like that. They're good raw skills, talent wise or whatever. They just don't understand like your brand. They don't know your vision. They like, you know what I'm saying? When you go through to record and edit, pull your microphone. You'll need to turn the camera on. Screen record with the audio. It could be as simple as one of these. The little headphone thing in it, or AirPods, whatever. Google Pixel Buds, doesn't matter. Has the microphone already built in. Like, okay, I'm gonna talk you through how I go and approach and edit. It's one of the best things. because there are some things, for example, with the audio, how do you describe an aesthetic or a vibe or a tone? This is where I said like the brand voice guide or developing a brand voice guide is essential, because like just saying a genre still doesn't mean the song is going to be right. Case in point, if I'm doing a very serious talk, cut the music up for a second. Like this is my stream mix or whatever, but what if, and I'm going to trigger some people, what if I played the Wheel of Wonder music when we do the game show on the channel? The genre might be a certain one that it makes sense. Don't fit. It fits the aesthetic and the vibe for the Wheel of Wonder game show when we're giving stuff away. Like it feels like it's the best, corniest, grab some popcorn, let's have a grand ole opry time for the game. But it doesn't fit for the overall content of the channel. So that's why I said put away a couple songs that you like, but also record the process of how you pick music. What do you imagine? So that's one of the things, like I said, when you're talking through the editing process of what you do, one of the things I'll say is like, I imagine like some lo-fi, chill hop style music, like, you know, heavy on the bass, you know, low on the highs, kind of a like, you know, like a real chill vibe for this video. I don't know the exact song, but that's what I imagine, because I see the video finished before I even record it. Like I know what kind of video I want it to be. So when I'm going through the process, especially if you're coming from not having a process to having to create one, sometimes one of the best things you can kind of do is take a director's cut kind of approach. Same way film students and stuff, like they'll watch Lord of the Rings, but they're watching not just the movie, they're watching the director's cut and be like, yeah, so when we got into this scene, what we were thinking, you need to do the same thing. Yeah, it's like, again, I'm thinking of a chill hop kind of vibe. It's like, how do I go through about approaching music, picking songs? How can I tell if it has the right vibe or not? Something as simple as that, just doing that, uploading that to like the training videos that you have, how to pick music, you know, for the kind of videos that you make. You already kind of hover around certain things. So with my team, they get access to those tools. They get access. We use Upbeat, Storyblocks, Motion Array. They get access to that stuff. So they can just go use it. And there's certain songs I've already liked, favorited, whatever. So that hopefully sums that up. Let's see here. What's up, Chaps Talk? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. All right. I'm saying we love to see it. Hashtag family business. All right. Saying I keep trying to get my husband to edit for me, but he ain't had the brother know what he's doing. He know. He's like, I'm not finna figure this out and make sure he's not signing up for that class. Said he preferred Twitch, but he'd rather not edit anything. Sometimes live to drive is the way that it works. Somebody else said something, but I think I missed it. It was one of the comments that I favorited a bit ago. So this one comes into play with like working with an editor. A little off topic, but what do you think about using a teleprompter? I'm not a fan because, for example, I went over one young lady's video recently. She had, I know what it was. Yeah. She was using a teleprompter. Didn't tell me that that's what she was using, but I'm watching the video and I'm like, if you would like to know how to make the best cereal for your child, that it's just very robotic. Like if you're going to use a teleprompter, like I said, I'm personally not a fan of it. So many people are already uncomfortable on camera. The main thing that you need to do is learn how to show you on screen. That's it. Show you, be you, the real you on camera. If you're not doing that, it makes it real hard and frustrating when you're trying to now bring information into the thing, because it's like you can't, because you focused on reading the whole time. I don't have a problem with teleprompters if you learn how to use them so that you can. Sometimes you do need to, like, maybe you have a ad segment or something and then be like, this video is brought to you by Storyblocks, or it's brought to you by Squarespace. If you're looking for a website, like, we all didn't heard the script so many times on YouTube, we could quote it. But I'm not a fan of it. You know your stuff. Most of the time, you know your stuff. It's one thing if, let's say you're an attorney and you know that you need to read U.S. Code 168-2, like, okay, fine. But also recognize the one thing that I, it's, again, with the say, show, and spell method, style of editing that is, I don't be reading that. So I'm going to communicate that in the video. It's like, okay, at this part, I'm be reading U.S. Code such and such, whatever. So go to Cornell Law and pull that up. Or maybe I already got that screenshot or whatever saved in the B-roll file for that video. And it's like, this is the U.S. Code such and such, whatever. This is what I'm referencing. That is going to be on screen anyway. I need not a teleprompter for what I'm actually going to be reading, but I'm not going to be on screen. Most of the time, people are just so uncomfortable with being on camera that they resort to like these scripts that don't make you seem like you on camera. You seem robotic. So I'm fine if you learn how to use them so that you can read. Most of the time, it's like you're this close, arm's length away. You see every eyeball movement for how to, like, it looks so weird. And then you're trying to fake smile, looking like a psycho. Most people just don't do it well. So learning to look into the lens of the camera, like, you know what your stuff is. I work off bullet points. Like I said in the video content masterclass, I broke that down of like how we use bullet points. You know the stuff. Break it up into segments. I know how I'm gonna do the stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you already know your content. You know your stuff. You don't need a teleprompter most of the time. It's just a crutch. For most people, it's a crutch. That's my thoughts on it. This was one Dominguez said earlier. Never click on a video so fast. Definitely need this. I've hired an editor, but I want to hear a lot more information about it. Okay, I don't know why I marked that one. I did address that already. But yeah, so we got that one. And okay, yeah, address that one. All right, just wanted to make sure I covered those. Oh, I know what you mean. For Hugh Brownstone. This is Hugh Brownstone with two blind men and an elephant. You'd be like, hold that thought. He's an excellent orator. I love Hugh. Saying, question, how do you balance quality versus just putting out videos? For instance, I made a quick reel on a hobby on Instagram. The video's 8,000 views. Meanwhile, the quality content I put out gets like 200 views. It's something to be said about personable, being personable. Most people don't have this. They get distracted with it. They don't know if it's an ad sometime or if it's like a legit you. For me, that's the system that I've kind of like built. I'm not finna use my phone because it looks worse. It's like I could sit down, hit one button, and we're off to the races. But there is something to be said about stuff that is just one-to-one, and it feels personable with content. Because if you are used to, like for TikTok, for example, people get caught up on TikTok for hours at a time with micro implements of personability. They connect with somebody. It's the one mother that's on TikTok who always does like to the comments. I have no idea what her name is, but I only watch that because we're going to laugh. We're going to laugh. I have an expectation that we're going to laugh. I don't care what she records it on because the value is not in like the quality. Sometimes people can't hear you when you don't look like them. You know what I'm saying? And I mean that not like skin tones or whatever. I mean like they can't relate. I teach video, so it kind of makes sense for my video stuff to look good. But sometimes like if it's like relationship advice or whatever, everybody don't want to always feel like they're sitting on the sofa with their hands across the stomach folded, hands folded, feet up, like they in a session. Sometimes they want to talk. So it's really about understanding, like, for that personability factor, how is this content going to really connect and relate with them on a level that like where they're meeting you at. So much of vertical video content now, it looks like trash. quality wise, it looks like trash. How do I deal with that? It's kind of easy for me because if I'm teaching video, the expectation is that my video doesn't look like trash. But they also aren't upset on the days where I just hit the camera thing on the phone, the camera icon, and just answer a quick question. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, just, I would say test and then track it for, it's like 30 days. And like, what's the tone of the video? Is it something that is like, let's just talk real quick. Let's have a, you know, like a one-on-one fireside chat real quick. Let's just be honest. That's why some of that stuff can, you know what I'm saying, hit, because it's on their level. It's like the walls is down, the defenses are down. They don't have to feel like they're being preached to or feel like they're being sold to. They just want to kind of connect and talk to somebody. And so much of the content on our phone right now is that. So it helps sometimes. So sometimes it's not about quality. The quality, how you judge quality and how they judge quality are two totally different scales. You're looking at camera, lens, lighting, audio. They're looking at, do you get me? Do you connect with me? And do you understand me? That's it. So the difference in the quality when you're doing video content and stuff, especially vertical videos, how you assess quality and how they assess quality is different. It's about marrying those two together. So I thought I was the only one watching live on Twitter, so I came over here to YouTube. It'd be like that. We're trying it right now, testing today. And there's some expectation around that's potentially going to happen because with Ecamm, it's a couple updates in the beta program so that if you are multi-streaming, we have that natively. So I'm curious. I'm gonna go back and check it. We've been streaming for quite some time right now, but I'm gonna go back and check it a little bit later, just because it's my first time multi-streaming in a long time, since like early 2020. But Ecamm now has multi-streaming. So I think we're on LinkedIn, YouTube for sure, and Twitter. I think that's obviously you say it from Twitter. So we're trying it right now. But that's the thing. Since I don't stream in some of these other areas, it's the whole thing of you riding around the neighborhood looking for where all the bikes at. All the bikes are at YouTube. Everybody's hanging out over on YouTube. So that's the thing. Should you hire an editor if you just started your channel, or wait till you get more subscribers? Well, my dear, I would say it's not about subscribers. Sometimes you can have a jump off with a brand new channel simply around it's going to cost you something regardless. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you figuring it out. I wish I had added up the hours of figuring out editing softwares, trying various editing softwares, watching tutorials alongside how to use the software, watching tutorials around that while I'm in the midst of a video edit, trying to do something basic, because you're completely unfamiliar with it. Hire somebody before you're ready. I don't think it's about subscriber numbers. What's the vision for your channel? And depending on what the vision is for your channel, are you going to quit? That's something more so early on that you have to deal with. Like, what's the value that you perceive in bringing somebody on? What's the vision for the channel? It don't matter that it's a new channel. All channels can grow. All channels can grow. It's not like, that's not a thing. It's just a matter of, are you going to quit? And can you stay encouraged when things are rough and things don't go quite so well all the time on YouTube or Twitch or TikTok or, you know what I'm saying? Like wherever you decide to create content, especially like YouTube, for example. So that's the bigger thing, because you'll feel like, well, the channel's not growing. It's not monetized. It's not making me maybe any other kinds of income from there. It's like, do you see value in bringing somebody on? Because that's not, I think it's important if you have a strong enough vision, because it frees you up to go do some other stuff. It really is important to answer those questions first. Then if you say, yes, I have a strong vision for my channel, I'm not going to quit on myself, even when it get tough, and I'm willing to do the work. Yeah. Because then you don't have to figure out editing. That's a whole bunch of stuff. You can just focus on content. Invest in something else that is worthy of your time. I think it's a smart move, but again, you got to be able to answer those other questions first. More importantly, saying how to find a video editor in your budget. What's the budget? Because sometimes you say, well, I have only, think sometimes, like, let's put this in perspective here. If you're hiring somebody, and let's say you said you only want to spend $200 a month, what does that realistically look like for somebody? Maybe that is not a part-time or a full-time thing. Maybe you're looking at like what I call flex time, where it's flexible hours essentially, or maybe that person has a certain rate per video, not necessarily per hour. So if it's a cost per video, then maybe you're only now able to afford a video or 2 videos. It still works for you because you're able to cut that time in half. So half of the time it would take you to edit a video you don't have to worry about, or, maybe you're guaranteed to get 2 videos per month out of somebody. So you're like, well, I can do the other 2 until you earn up to maybe making some more money or whatever. So it's not trying to necessarily hire somebody in the range, is making sure they got the skills, and does it make sense? Because if that number isn't reaching the threshold, it won't matter. So it may not be a per hour thing. It may be a more like, how much is it going to cost you maybe per video? Then at that point, like, you can experiment or something like with Fiverr or Fiverr Pro. Fiverr Pro is a higher tier of that, just to see, again, for the offload of time. And at that point, people usually do charge like a set amount per video. So again, you can experiment with stuff like Fiverr and Fiverr Pro, because they have other clients and stuff, to see like, okay, can I at least get a month worth of content off my plate? So maybe that is the approach that you start with. So you're not having to worry about, like getting somebody started for a part-time or full-time position, but you're starting at a lower threshold. So you can say, okay, with a month of my time back of what it would cost me to edit, maybe within your budget, because you can find that on Fiverr, the prices are public and all of that. Figure out what the number is. What's the number that you can afford? Can you find somebody that can do the work? Because the last thing you want is to get a video that you paid for and it's not done. You got it and they say it's done, but for you, it's not done. So that's something I would take into consideration. So one more question. Should we hire a video editor for YouTube as a beginner, or should we learn ourselves until we start making money? I think the smart approach is to start hiring after you've done a couple edits yourself. One of the questions that I'll ask during an interview is one that gives me just an open door of things that stuff that people do wrong when they're hiring people. It's exposed a whole lot of stuff that maybe has never been an issue for me, but I see like where their experience is coming from. If you don't know what goes into an edit, or you don't know what it should look like, you don't know what it takes to actually do what you're asking this person to do, you won't see the value in bringing somebody on. Or you'll constantly be frustrated because it's not right. If the video is not right, then it's like, what does it take to get right? I don't know, just edit this. No, you need to know what edit this video means. If you don't have a definition for edit the video, it's probably because you haven't started editing at all. You don't know what it takes to put a produced piece together. You have to at least have a baseline requirement of what it takes to produce a video for you successfully. What should it do? What should it not do? For example, one of the things I see consistently in a lot of beginners' videos, the sound effects is loud as hell. Loud as hell. All over the place. Just, it's just overpowering the music, louder than the person. You're like, dag, I'm wearing headphones. Calm down. But it's just big. All these sound effects all over. It's like, back off. Decrease the volume. Okay, so if you never edited a video, chances are you may make early mistakes like that as a beginner. I don't think there's anything wrong with hiring somebody as a beginner. Again, you get back a lot of time that you don't have to, but at least have edited a few videos to a point that you say, okay, this is where I'm starting from. Now, bringing somebody on that has more experience, even if it's a year more than what you're doing, if they're fairly new or whatever, you're dealing more with raw skills, you need to be able to teach and train that person, the less underqualified they are, on what it takes to get a video right for you. Otherwise, you're just paying for them to figure it out. It's not worth it at that point. So that's what I would say. Hire before you need them. Like I said, hire before you need them. Vaughn, don't wait. Key Brown, what's going on? Good to see you. Saying, have I talked about prices? A little bit. It depends. What's your question specifically? Saying not Ludacris has spoken wise words. Go find you some business. What's going on? The fryer? What's going on, Bishop Fryer? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Love your content, sir. What's up, Camera Junkie in the building? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Saying, are those prices according to raw footage too? Meaning if a client sends a 20, 30-minute footage, it'll cost X amount per month. No, that's just in general. Like, so when I was talking about prices of how much it's costing you, that's what the assumption that if you take it from the perspective of how much, like I said, an example on $25 an average, that you're working a job. If it's costing you, you need to look at it what you're actually making per hour. Now, here's the kicker. Don't send nobody 20, 30 minutes of footage and like trying to price off of that. Let's not even do that. Why? If like we doing 20, 30 minutes and we're going to condense this down to 5 to 7 minutes, you wrong. You dirty for that one. What I would say is don't worry so much so about pricing. Like if you're hiring somebody, don't worry about the raw footage, because the one thing with hiring an editor, it will refine you as a creator as well. You won't spend that much money with like having to deal with the raw time. Now, what it will cost you is them sorting through to find the video in the raw content. It shouldn't take you that long. It should not take you that long. If you're doing like, even if you're going from a 10-minute, like 7 to 10 minute videos or something like that, of the finished video, it shouldn't, like we're not starting with 20, 30 minutes. Like that's way too much raw stuff. Even if that's just sitting there, letting it stop, because that's a big old gigabyte file for no reason. That's why I love to use Ecamm Live. It has a pause button. Between that and talking as I'm producing the piece, it's very little that needs to be shaved. So when I was talking about the content quadrant, I'm talking about the final content. Like if I'm trying to produce, for example, when I put this on the screen, when I was talking about the content quadrant earlier, this is the final times. Like a 3 to 7 minute is not the raw files. The 3 to 7 minutes for like a medium planner is the final video. So knowing that I'm producing a piece where the final video is like 3 to 7 minutes, the raw file shouldn't be longer than 10, 12, maybe 14 or 15 if I have a few takes for some reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, and at that point, the reason why I created the content quadrant is so I could effectively create content so the raw files ain't that long. It shouldn't be that long. Simply because when you have to take all this other stuff off your plate, like you gotta be focused when you're producing your stuff. And sometimes it take a minute to get stuff, but dag, it shouldn't take every tip 7 takes or something. Like, no, something is off. Something is off here. Like either you're stressing in your mind and you tripping over internal hurdles, or like you need to change how you approach something. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, the content quadrant is based on final video. And that's with the assumption that like knowing that the raw content is not going to take that long. So for example, if I'm looking at a quick hitter and that's maybe a 60-second short that's well rehearsed or something, or there is a legit script for that one so I can make time and cover all the stuff that I need to, that may be 3 to 5 minutes on the raw file. A light planner that's 2 to 4 minutes for the final video, maybe that's 7 to 10 minutes. For 3 to 7 minutes, same rules apply. For the hard hitter, for example, maybe then at that. All right, looks like we are running through some questions. Had an error pop up, so if you had your stream freeze for a second, just refresh your screen. It should be a minute. It should be back. All right, wait, I'm missing some comments. Let me hop to it. Dang. I'm real behind on the comments, huh? So give me I'm trying to catch up. But yes, Key Brown, ask your specific questions about pricing Specifically, I'm curious about that. Pervy. Okay. Nicole Pervy. Okay. Better than success. I do remember that. Saying the quality of your camera setup for live streaming is perfect. It feels like 4K and the bokeh is on point. I prefer it over Emily D. Baker's camera. I'm not gonna front. I don't even know who that is, but I mean, so yeah. Sorry, Emily. Your video's not preferred over. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know who that is. Maybe I should. I don't know. But I don't know. You know, I never watch anybody's stuff and be like, yeah, your stuff's not as great as, you know, but thank you, I suppose. Madam Gladney, good to see you, Nick. Glad you are in the building. No, man, we ain't doing no Willow Wonder stuff today. We're not doing no Willow Wonder stuff today. Saying my editor and I grew up together. I give him my content, the order I want it presented, and let him use his imagination. Never had any issues having familiarity in the relation. 100%. The more that person knows you, your journey, and your content, the way easier that all this stuff becomes. And in like the first tasks to assign an editor, there's not only like branding stuff that this person is going to like go through. At times, I'll assign work that is just purely watch these videos. I know you ain't editing. I'm not worried about you editing right now. I need you to understand where we're coming from, or the vibe, or the, you know what I'm saying? Like, because in my mind, I also need to account for when you're hiring somebody that's new like that. If they don't know you, they don't know your history, like having somebody that knows you, they can say, oh, remember when you took that one trip to such and such, and then this happened, because they've been following your content. When somebody hasn't been following your content, then, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, what should I do here or whatever? So sometimes what I'll do is, one, assign stuff to go watch older things, or I'll say a little backstory here. In 2017, what started happening, like I'll give them a breakdown of what happened in the history of the content, the channel, or whatever, you know, we're talking about in the video. But I won't put that in the notes as I'm recording. I'll just put that in like the description in Asana. Be like, just for context, around 2017, I was using such and such camera. This was the lens that I was using. Here's where I was at in my journey. So when I'm referencing this, these are the specific videos that I mean, and I'll link to them or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So sometimes you got to fill in the blanks or whatever. But if that person knows you, like you said, you good and gravy. Good and gravy. Any recommendation for which website which website is good for creating lower thirds? I don't use anything other than Final Cut. Yeah, to create a lower third, just get a plugin for, what is it, Envato Market? They're great for finding stuff that you can customize the color, change the font, and, you know, export that. And there's ways that you can export stuff. I know I've shown this on the channel because we've done live streams and stuff on this before. It just depends on when you've been following, but there's ways to export lower thirds and stuff in Final Cut so that it is like you can play it on your live streams or whatever, or play it in the videos if you're using like a Stream Deck or use the Loop Deck Live here over here. You can do it. You don't have to have a certain website. And some of these websites, I'm not going to lie, they're kind of corny with the limitations and stuff. So it's very general approach. I recommend just getting a plugin from something like an Envato Market. You pay for like a pack of like 100 or 200 effects and a bunch of other stuff maybe. Or you're getting them from, like if you're using something like Storyblocks, then you can get a subscription and they have a bunch of plugins and stuff. And then you customize it and then you save that as a preset. But if you want it for like your live streams or something, like if you want when you start the video to have a lower third or something come in, then so you don't have to maybe do that in editing or whatever, just get that out. You can do that with regular stuff in Final Cut or Adobe Premiere. It's not limited to Final Cut, but I'm just using that because that's what I use. Matthew said, with great power comes great responsibility. Everyone who signed up to do YouTube. 100%. Todd, Christmas Clatter, good to see you. And hello, Merry Christmas to you, Todd. I say Merry Christmas 24/7. It just has a nice, joyous spirit. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. saying just getting in, but has everyone remembered to hit the like button? Did you remember to hit the like button? Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that, man. Saying I'm making a parody video based off of Hugh. Been traded my throat to get the silky paws. You got to have some bass in your throat to hit that Hugh Brownstone. I would love to see it when you produce it. Sam, my voice has to be silky. Indeed. Saying I agree on the teleprompter. I'm a preacher and I speak without notes every week. I grabbed a teleprompter for YouTube. Stupid move for me. Used it twice and realized it was a huge distraction. 100% agree. It's not real. Like it's weird. The only person I justify using a teleprompter is like Gerald Undone, where he is talking so fast and he is like listening to an encyclopedia in some respects, like for real. It's like the depth of what he's talking about. And I don't mind, but he's doing it in a way that's kind of still like him. But again, it's a lot of distance and he's covering very specific, detailed stuff. For example, the way I do stuff, if I need to, there are some things, some elements of what you do where it does need to be word for word, or you want it, like you've already identified the best way to communicate something. And that is based on a script. There are some pieces of my content for like shorts, especially again, because I need to make sure I hit 59 seconds or less. If I just natively said, I'm gonna say too many words. So I got like 3 layers deep that I need to get. So I will write it out, but I'll notify my editor at that point. I'll be like, okay, Judd, I'm gonna be reading. So you need to put B-roll over this because I need to nail it. At that point, I'm like, okay. Okay. If it's like crap, said the wrong word, because I've already picked the right words to keep it short. But there are some points where I'll be like, add B-roll over this because I need to read this word for word. So if, for example, what I'll do is like lead-in statements is what I'll call it. So if I'm doing something like the content quadrant that we talked about earlier, and I know for a fact I need to read it word for word as it is on the screen, I'm going to do a lead-in. That's me on camera. And I've talked about this in different videos on editing and stuff like that on YouTube. It's already on the channel. I'll do a lead-in statement that is looking at the camera. So there is a connection, and then it will transition to B-roll without changing anything in my voice or needing to add in a pre-recorded part or something. I'll just go ahead and read it. So this is the way that this would look like on a raw edit. And I'd be like, so let me tell you about how we go into content with the training, I already messed up. So like, let me share with you what we do in the company when we're using the content quadrant. Bring it up on screen. Now I can look over. I don't change anything in the voice, and I can say a medium planner is a 3 to 7 minute video. These videos have 3 to 4 bullet points, blah, 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 blah. And you know what I'm saying? I keep reading this down or whatever. By the time I come back on screen, now I'm back to just saying the tip of whatever the next relevant bullet point is. But that part, maybe I needed to read. We know there's going to be something on screen, so I'm free to look at that of whatever's on my desktop or whatever at that point. So if I go from like written notes, for example, I like writing written notes around stuff. If I do a written note, then I'll just put it real quick. If y'all don't know, phones are super smart now. Smartphones have earned the title. You can take a picture. It will read the text for you on the screen or like on the paper and paste it in actual text block in a notepad, in a digital notepad. Not like the image, but it'll read the image with the text and you can paste that into like a Google or Apple Notes. If you have the Google Pixel phones, they do that really well. The iPhones do that. So, and you don't need like the latest and greatest. I think it's a lot of them that do it. So do that. If you're a writer or whatever, that's fine. Put it up and have it here. So that way I'm not having to change my voice or it doesn't sound any different when we come back to the video. The smile and hold method, all of that stuff. You go back, check back with that video. It helps a lot with omitting the need for a teleprompter for real. There's so much great value and information. Appreciate that. Saying shout out to the chat for asking the questions that I had. Good to see you, Struble. It's been a minute. It's been a long time, Struble. Good to see you. Lost small world, eh? So glad that this is shaping up to be a 4. Is it really? Shut up. Because my stream, something happened. I think one of the platforms only allows maybe a certain amount, so I have to go back and double check that later. I don't know how long I've been streaming, but I know we started at noon. So this is not supposed to be a 5-hour energy stream, but I guess we're here for it. Saying love that if you don't know and understand what needs to be fixed, you won't understand the value in hiring somebody. I've had this happen where, like I said, people are frustrated and they're like they're hiring the editor, for example. And like, man, this person just like, they're not doing it right. Well, what's the right way? I don't know. I guess they just supposed, if you smack your teeth and say, I don't know, but they supposed to mind read? You know what I'm saying? Like, even if they were a student of your content, are they supposed to mind read on that's why I said, like, once I figure out the brand voice guide, I'll post it in the membership community on what that actually looks like and how to actually do it, because it's super important. It's so important. Like, what's the tonality? What's the vibe? What should happen? What shouldn't happen? We have, like I said, what's called the day 1 document when somebody's first getting started. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. I don't mind showing you that. Day 1. And we'll do this for the video editor. In the day 1 document, it shows what is required when somebody's getting started. So from day 1 up until 30, 60, whatever, that they like, this always is updated. They always will have access to this, but this will go into, here's what you use. Here's how you do this. Here's the programs that you need to have access to. Here's the way we do revisions. Everything is included. Like, you know what I'm saying? Here's how we work. Here's how you need to do the micro content. Here's an example of this. Like, it's all over. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very clear. It's refined. It's written out specifically of what's required. It's no guesswork. If something needs to be added, that document will get updated. Last time I updated was before I was doing the course content, because some stuff was old. Some tools we don't use anymore, or we don't use it the same way. If there's a training on, like, for example, Descript, we use Descript in the company. We don't use it as much as we were using it right now, but we were using it like a crap ton, maybe like 5 or something months ago. And it's probably going to switch. Like, I'm seeing like we go into seasons with using it a lot and not as much. But like, it's like, here's how you use it. Here's exactly how to do stuff. I don't leave no wiggle room. I have probably about 35 training videos that I've done in the training portal, in the onboarding process for when somebody's getting started. And that works for video editors and virtual assistants. And it doesn't have to be like these 45-minute training things. Here's how I did this together. Here's my thought process of how I put this together. When we're going through and doing this, this needs to be this font for any dominant footage or dominant text like headers, titles. Then when you get into H2 and H3, it should be like, be specific. What's the thing for SMART goals? I think the first thing is like, they're specific. You know what I'm saying? So if we're going to set goals for this person working with us, again, I'm a plain Jane. I'm very black and white when we're working together. I'm all for clear communication. I'm fine with anybody asking questions or whatever, but there are some things you shouldn't have to ask, that they shouldn't have to ask. It's already in the doc. Like I said, that's why I gave so many swipe files. Is literally the exact process. If I was going to hire somebody else today, it's the exact process that I would use. Nothing's left out. Nothing's left out. So when I went over here to show y'all what's in the course, this is exactly what we use. Wrong one. This one. This is exactly what we use. So when I talk about preparing the day 1 document, it's not just in here. I give you the template for what you just saw. Give you the exact template. It's available as an editable docs, like you can open that in Google Docs is what we use. I give you the exact thing. If I'm talking about mistakes when hiring or payment options, a bunch of other stuff up here in the beginning, if I'm going through the editing questions that not editing questions, but questions to ask the editor during an interview, I'm telling you, Easiest ways to conduct it. I'm telling you, giving you the swipe files. What's the pre-outline and hiring? I give it to you. Document. Boom. Swipe file. Grab it. Go for the goal. The only thing I would say is like update the branding so it's yours and it's not mine. So they don't think they're working for me. But update the branding. Change the font. Make it your own. But I took my other friend, Jared, through this process. He paid for a coaching session. He's like, give me everything. I'm sick of it. He's worked with hiring other editors in person. He's like, I'm sick of it. I need it now. Like, okay. And one thing that he said that was like so funny that I'll never forget is it like sticks in my mind in a good way. He said, I have vastly underestimated the empire. Because he was like, what? Like, it's a fire hose of information. Thankfully, I've condensed that down into the course. But shameless plug, grab it. Put your phone up to the screen, get the QR code, go to buildingateam.live if you want to put it in, and get access. The other thing that you'll also get access to, because you also get access to the community, which I forgot to mention earlier, is that there's a private podcast called the Entree Chats Daily that we do. It's 6 days a week, so Sunday's off, but it's 6 days a week in the community. We got all kind of podcast episodes every single day. It's like 5 to 15 minutes is the max on those, but it's a daily podcast, and even like Q&A questions and stuff like that sometimes doesn't make sense to like make a whole video about in the course. We talk about that on the podcast. So there's a private podcast. The link to that, like when you join, because you also get, again, access to the Video Simplified community, the activity page or whatever, you'll see in there the private podcast. That's for the community only. So, but when you get the what am I trying to say? Course. When you get the Building a Team course, you'll see that on the main community page. It doesn't give you everything, but it will give you that. And then the Video Simplified playbook also as a bonus as well. And so you get access to all the replay content, not just from this year, but last year. So dedicated videos where questions may get asked in the community is great to dive into, and just some other stuff as well. What's up, Adam? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Said I just got here a few minutes ago. Well, technically, I won't know when that was. As you all know, I tend to fall a little bit behind in the chat. So, saying, just got a few minutes ago, have you talked about how to hire someone on Fiverr or other platforms for the... No, because to be honest with you, unless you're going to like test, I don't really recommend Fiverr like that in this way, because those people are trying to work for a bunch of people to get stuff for a dollar amount. Like they're trying to make a certain amount of money. So they're trying to do a turnaround that's as quick as possible. And I have had people that worked with Fiverr. It's not never long-term, because you can never garner full access and the full attention of that person. Even if they're hitting the baseline stuff, add lower thirds, here's my fonts, here's my colors, kind of a stuff. Maybe they have a certain limit on requirements. I've not found, honestly, we're working with somebody on Fiverr, they can give you what you really want full time. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying like 40 hours a week, but I'm saying like they're not giving the edits the full amount of their attention, because they know how many people have paid them that they have in the backlog that they're trying to get through. Even if that's only like 5 or 6 other clients for the week, they trying to crank that stuff out quick. So they're not giving stuff as much attention. It's not bad. It will give you a baseline to just test and see maybe what are some gaps in the content that you're missing. Maybe they ask you a question that you like, dag, I do need to think about that. I haven't maybe recorded a video on how I do that. Or maybe I haven't covered that in the training portal for onboarding and stuff that I'm setting up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it could be a good baseline to start with. I don't really recommend it long term. Their availability is consistently going to change as they're getting clients. I don't have a problem with using it. Something like Fiverr Pro is probably a little bit more approachable. It will cost more, but sometimes it'll cost more than what it would sometimes cost if you hired somebody for a certain amount of hours, which is flex time, if you hired them part-time or full-time. The way I approached transitioning somebody into, like, I don't know how this is going to work with you yet, is start them off part-time with, if it's a great fit on both ends, hiring them on full-time. Now, I've done that and it works out well. The thing is, though, making sure it's a great fit, which is the turnaround time what I need it to be for us to stay on track? Are the edits in alignment with what we need to get it to finished? I don't want to go through endless revision rounds. We don't do that anyway, but we're not finna spend all day on it. So stuff like that with Fiverr, like they just trying to hurry up and say, you ready? Is it approved? Can you get it to approve? I'm not a fan of it. It can work, but it's not something I would recommend. It was something like if you want to try, or if you have sometimes like a lower budget and maybe you want to offload 1 or 2 videos. If you find somebody that's good, then yeah, but it's still making sure that at that point, I would say my advice, make sure the raw talent is there. And when I say the raw talent, like, are they good maybe with the storytelling of what you do? If somebody does a lot of talking head videos, because they can't go from editing vlogs to editing training stuff. They're going to be bored with the edit initially, so they won't know what to add in order for it to work for you from a business standpoint. That's the one thing I have to teach my editors as well. They may be coming from editing other kinds of content. Do you know how to edit videos with a specific marketing intent? If the answer is no, that means but I see the raw skill is there, I'm still willing to hire them. They just got to get trained on it. So you can't really do that with somebody with Fiverr and be like, hey, can you watch this video on your off time? Or, it's like, you know what I'm saying? So that's my only thing. It's just make sure the raw skill is there. Make sure, and I mean like music, like when I talked about the sound effects and stuff earlier, if every sound effect that you're looking at for videos they've done for other people is hella loud, just garish and just, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you ain't gonna fit. If all the music vibe is not an enjoyable viewing experience, it's like, because how many times I gotta ask you to fix something which to me is a basic that is like in my expectations for an editor. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thoughts. All right. Creativity Reigns saying, I'm glad I found this. Thanks, Diana. You're very welcome. Love that channel name. Said, as an editor, I have a few YouTube clients that send me 15, 20, 30. Oh, hell no. I get it done within 2 to 3 days, but I'm wondering if I'm charging too little. I need my own. Key. They are overworking you, my dear. One, okay, so I've done freelance work before. It may not be charging too little, but you got to put caps on what they're sending. Because if they are, like, you can't, it has to be an honor system on both sides of the coin. I need to respect and honor my editor, and I need my editor to honor and respect me. Without that, it won't matter. This matters when it comes to time, because just because somebody else is doing it don't mean you send them whatever crap and just be like, make magic out of a poop emoji, please. They needed to re-record that and take that 1 hour. Like, what are they even talking about? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you even talking about? Unless they doing like I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Like, the master class was what, an hour 20 minutes or something, and that was broke down into like 3 subsections or whatever. And I don't think those ran over. Yeah, it's like, no. Somebody is freelance. When I first started going full time, it was as a freelance video editor. But I specifically did like tutorials, trainings, education-based content for other content creators and business owners, because I understand that. Again, I the whole realm of it. But there is limitations on what the raw files can be, of what the expectation of the final video should be. And then number 2, I would send back what I would call editor's notes, and I would communicate this before we ever start working together. If there is something that I see because I create content that I know can be improved on, I'm going to help them be a better client. Like, I'm going to say, you don't need to spend that extra time doing this. Or if I make a recommendation, as if I know somebody's using Ecamm Live, great. Hit the pause button. I don't need to source through you looking through your notes for 45 minutes. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just figure because they work for you, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's got to be respect on both sides. I'll apologize in the video, be like, I'm sorry, Judd. I'm in a lot of pain today. I'm not feeling it. So my tone gonna be off. I'm gonna try to fix it, but I need to get through this. I respect the time that they're giving to the work that they're doing, but I'm not gonna send them just some BS and say, figure it out. So I would say it's like some readjustments that need to happen there. And if you make content key, you can send back those editors' notes. My recommendation is, if you are needing to take time away from the camera, go ahead and pause it or stop recordings. I'm fine if you send multiple files, as long as it stays within the 20-minute threshold for a video that's blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? But that's an honor thing. Like, do you respect somebody's? Even with this, now that it's over an hour or the 30 minutes, I don't know why I thought it was going to be like a 45-minute stream. I'm going to say only worry about the first 30 minutes and the hell with the rest. Or I may chop the rest of the stuff off or break it up into multiple stuff, like across the next couple weeks or whatever. But I ain't finna send no 5-hour video and be like, have fun, make a video out of it. What? It's got to be respect, you know what I'm saying, on both sides of the things. This is my thoughts. And will those slides that you are sharing be available in the chat? Actually, they will not, but the replay might be available for amount of time. But yeah, so just scroll back. You can screenshot them. They're not going to be available in the chat, but sorry. So does your video editor tend to use various different editing softwares? I don't care what they use. Sorry, I got to scratch my knee. I don't care what they use, as long as it's on brand. There are some things that are made, and we've only worked with Adobe Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro. But I'll do just like I advised in the beginning of the stream, which is, if I know I want a certain brand aesthetic, I have to go pick something that is the brand aesthetic for Adobe. So if there are certain plugins that maybe just aren't available outside of Final Cut, I already have stuff picked for Adobe Premiere Pro that will work, that I already like, that already fit the brand aesthetic, and I'm fine with if we're using what we already use in addition to that. So I don't care what they use or what they edit with, because the brand font, the brand colors, certain things will be the same. It just may be something like lower thirds or whatever. But then at that point, you have to find like uniformity between what everybody's doing, so every video don't look different. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, that's why I said go find something from like Envato Market, where you buy like one of those 200, 300, whatever effects pack. Because they usually have one for Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere. And you can get them from both, or something like Storyblocks as well. Excuse me. You can get them there as well. And they'll have like, here's one for this version. Here's one for this version. You know, kind of a thing. So I don't care what they use, as long as, like I said, the brand aesthetic stuff is used. So it's been a while since I've anything. We haven't done the Wheel of Wonder in a while. So good stuff, Diana. Appreciate that, sir. All right, it's time to land the plane. Saying I need clients to do that. Or I need to do that for my clients. It's been a draft. Yeah, no. They're going to have to cut that down. Hello, big fan from India. Well, hello, Sarath. Is that right? Let me know how to pronounce your name correctly. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying thank you for sharing the QR code. Elbow cough. You're very welcome. Saying thank you. You're very welcome. Oh, look who the cat drug in. India, America, speaking Spanish in America. Missed the entire stream. I was expecting you still be on. What is cracking? What's going on, India? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Saying fiber is not for relationships. It's for the one thingy. one night stands and hookups. Yeah, some people have found good people on Fiverr, and some people have converted people from platforms like that to only working with them. But it's a hard pull because they know how much money they can make, and maybe how much you're offering is not the same. They don't know if they're guaranteed to continuously make that, and then they're fighting in the marketplace kind of thing. But sometimes it's possible to transition people from like Upwork and Fiverr or whatever. But I would say, like, if you're going to do something like that, go ahead and maybe try like a month worth of time off of your schedule. Like, try to take that like a little bit off, and then see what can you make possible. That I like to work either full-time or part-time with my people, and eventually work them to full-time if that's the goal or what's available to them or what they want. If it's a good fit, great. Because I don't want to compete with time. Like, I got enough stuff that I'm working through consistently. Like, we got plenty of content, plenty of ideas, plenty of goals, plenty of things that need to be hit. I can't have my other client is, it's like, okay, no. Saying, I have missed your live stream, Diana. So happy that you're live. Well, we're back again on Friday. I've been thinking about bringing the Friday live helpcast back, but so we may do a couple of those. So especially for talking head videos. Yeah, 100%. It's so freaking true. Did I hit the nail on the head? Ask me how I know. This dread right here, don't want to participate. Bury it under the rest. It's, oh gosh, the yurts and all of that have started. Saying, any news about when it will be in stock again for, let me see if, what's it, ANCHAL? If you search, do you mean like the ZVE10s? Those have been in stock for a long little minute now. There's not been any issues with that. So something to consider. Let's see. Saying these are mainly vlogs. Okay. Vlogs is something we've had to navigate differently. Like because I do have the vlog channel that's like documenting my experience and stuff like that. And so initially, yeah, we did have like a really long, and even still footage wise, like, yeah, it's hard to put that in the thing, but I've tried to condense down editing, like almost like a pre-edit, because in your mind what happened. What I'll share like with vlogs and stuff is what happened, what I think the storyline ultimately is, but they still have like creative liberties or the like stuff that happened that to bring them into, here's how this vlog went. It's like we went to the library first and Skip fell down or whatever, and it was super dramatic and funny, but it's like, so there's something there. Overall, it's like maybe I'm talking about X, Y, and Z book that came out, and I don't know, like something else or whatever, answering some questions when I got back to the office. And that's more or less the elements of what happened in the vlog. So they don't have to watch every little thing to know. And then I can say, even from timestamps where I like the morning footage is all at the library. Use only what you need, but here's the things that I recorded. Like me, again, knowing what goes into doing those, if I have the SD card, I know all the stuff, but I'm saying, like, I try to break that down. So for example, when I went to Washington and I was sending the vlog clips, it was so much fun doing those, and it made sense because I'm like, here's the storyline, here's what happened, here's the footage that I'm sending, and this is the date only for that stuff. So I only try to record what makes sense to send, and then just like use what you want, but I'm putting X, Y, and Z, and then just like recording segments. So I can see it being at that point with vlog footage, like 30, 40, 50 minutes. Like, you know what I'm saying? At that point, it is kind of hard to dictate that, but then it's like, again, communicating, because I'm honoring the time. It's like, I notice I'm recording way too much that eventually maybe even I'm telling you to cut these bits out. So what does that say to me? Don't record the unnecessary bits, or know what you want to say before you hit record. Or I've even gone through the process because you in, what is it? QuickTime on the Mac. You can open up a file and just trim it down. So I'd be like, oh, that stuff not relevant. It's just this. and then it auto saves or whatever. And then I just upload that bit. It's like I cut this one off. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? So that way they're able to pick up with what happened and stuff like that. You got to get more communication with a vlog because like it's a story element there. And if they're just sending you stuff and like find the story, well, what did you think I was going to do with all this stuff? Like you need to know what you're shooting too. Like it's a different dynamic. It's a little weird with vlogs, but there is a way. It is a way to kind of go through that. Saying I love Envato. Yep, it's definitely cool. India, America laughing. Saying, am I using the ZV-E10 right now? No, but the quality would be the same if I was. This is the A6400. All live streams, even videos that are at this angle, like you see the fairy lights and all of that, a little portion of the table. Maybe sometimes you'll see that other bookshelf occasionally. Always the A6400. Always. Matter of fact, the ZV-10 is sitting right here. So this is, speaking of cameras, you got me thinking about the FX30 that's rumored to come out, which I'll be excited to test and try should it be real. But yeah, ZV-10, no. But because the sensor and stuff is the same, the internals is all the same look. It can look exactly the same way. It's always on my 35mm f1.8. But any of these angles like this is always on the A6400. It never is not the live streaming camera. Sometime if I'm on the other side of the desk, then that's using the ZV-E10. But this always stays just like this. So it's always consistent. So, all right. This was a very long live stream that I was not expecting to do this long, but Merry Christmas to you because we've been out here in these streets for quite some time. Whether you're watching this live or on a replay, I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to go ahead, grab the Building a Team course, or you can go to buildingateam.live and get access to the course. And it goes through the exact process from phase 1, 2, and 3. We're going to be doing 3 live streams in addition to what we're doing today. And then we'll talk about some stuff with virtual assistants on Friday. But all that stuff is covered in the course and it's broken down so it's digestible. And so you can't skip around to, I don't need to know that. Yes, you do. Because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. I promise you don't. And it's not just about building a team and hiring the right person. It's also about making sure your leadership stuff is on point as well. But I'm going to walk you through those different phases. Week 1, we're going through phase 1. Week 2, we're going through phase 2. Week 3, bringing it all home with building a team, setting the culture, making sure you hire people that's going to work good with other people. Because once that door and that income and stuff start to open up for you, it just makes sense, man. It just makes sense to like at least have like a video editor, virtual, like the life that becomes available to you again. It changes. It changes. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all for being here on the stream. Again, QR code on the screen if you want to put your phone up to it, but go to buildingateam.live if you want to get access.